we talk about this. We work year round to get this thing rolling. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. We've got Marshmallow. We've got so many people that are going to be there. Sean Paul, as we've talked about before, Everclear. And for the first time ever, Kevin Miller will be there past 5. I will be introducing Everclear. And I'll also be introducing the first act, which will be interesting. We usually do that with Matt Walling, Mateo from KISS FM. We'll see if that happens this year, but we are, once again, looking forward to opening the festival. And you're going to go, Kevin Miller, you're a talk guy. Why are you doing this? Well, people at the Godless Corporation say, Kevin, you need to spread your wings a little. And I go, okay, sure. And remember, I've been here for I think I've missed one because I went on vacation. Every Boise Music Festival. So almost every one of them, at least the first one. And I can remember being there and, they would say, Kevin, we're going to have you do something very important. Oh, good. Who am I going to introduce? You're going to introduce Sunscreen. Sunscreen? Is that an act? No. Sunscreen is not an act, but you're going to introduce Sunscreen. And I can remember getting up there and going, hello, everyone. I just wanted to let you know to wear your sunscreen because it's going to be very, very hot, and you don't want to turn into a pink red lobster like me. There you have it. So we will introduce Julia Cole, not to be confused with Julia Child. Then it is The Bot Cash, a Korean act, I believe. MK20 at 1:30, Eve 6 at 3:30, Everclear at 5 p.m., Sean Paul. You could almost say the co-headliners, but really the one headliner, the showstopper, is Marshmallow at 8:45. Also want to remind you, you can win tickets, but you have to call in and do the 580 KIDO Kevin Miller game. And when you do that, you could win a family 4-pack. A couple of things we talk about. We do have those stories and more on our website. And we have the Boise mayor focused on social media, not leadership, which is something we wanted to get to yesterday, which we'll get to today. Once again, we'll make friends with the mayor and her office. So, by the way, the Boise Music Festival is in Garden City, so we look forward to that. The first year was in Boise. This year, once again, it'll be in historic Garden City. And it's kind of cool when you go to Marshmallow's website, and when you see it, Mr. Mello, you see Garden City, Idaho, Chicago, Las Vegas, Spain, Czechoslovakia, and all the great cities. Garden City, Chicago, Las Vegas, Czechoslovakia, and other parts of Spain, which, again, I think is really kind of cool. So I think we've gone over the Boise Music Festival. A couple of things going on, and I'll give props to Channel 2 this morning. I heard it from them. I'm looking at the national news. Basically, apparently our naval blockade is leaving or is over because the first round of Iranian peace talks have addressed Lebanon, Strait of Hormuz, and frozen assets. We'll get to that, but this is something that, again, the local folks at Channel 2 had in their national feed. They're going to release the Biden tapes. You remember the Joe Biden tapes? Remember Joe Biden? Remember Joe Biden when Joe Biden decided that he was going to write a book? One of the dumber things that Joe Biden did, and it didn't sell anything. This was back when he was the vice president, and remember he had the secret documents that he wasn't prosecuted for because he was too incompetent to stand trial. Yeah. Too incompetent to stand trial. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, the guy who mumbles. What was that? Was that a Dick Tracy villain, Mumbles? Kevin, who's Dick Tracy? Google it, true believers. The crime fighter. The guy that originally had the watches like we have today. You know, as a kid growing up, no, I'm not that old, but I do remember the recycled old Dick Tracy comic books or cartoons. And they would talk into their watches. And just like with Star Trek, with the communicators, you thought, wow, this is neat. Now we have those today. But anyway, I think he had one of the villains was Mumbles. And Mumbles mumbled. And that was Joe. Joe mumbled. But they released the transcripts, but they never released the audio. Or, I believe, the video. So the Heritage Foundation, as Channel 7 described them, the far-right group, the Heritage Foundation, sued to release those papers. Biden went to court. Biden fought it. Biden lost. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Isn't this amazing? Biden lost. So now we are going to hear those tapes. Interesting. Looking at some fallout from the GOP convention, Scott Herndon on Twitter saying this week the Idaho GOP put the elimination of property taxes into its platform. He moved the amendment onto the convention floor, and the delegates adopted it by standing vote. The platform now calls for property taxes an inherently unjust tax, not reduce it. And good luck with that. Our friend Eric says, so this sounds great in theory. Aren't we in a budget crunch already? What's the plan to make up the revenue elsewhere? I prefer paying my taxes in a rolled-up mortgage payment rather than having some same cost hidden elsewhere. Additionally, do you think that this is really going to work? Very good point. That's why we love Eric. We appreciate Eric on Twitter. I agree with that. You know, what is the plan? Let's hopefully they can make that happen. But these Biden tapes are truly, truly alarming when you think about this, because Joe Biden, and nobody likes to jump on somebody who is beaten down. But now we're hearing about Fauci. Now we're hearing about what Tulsi Gabbard had released, that Fauci, the Fauci ouchie, he begged Joe Biden for a pardon. And he said, please, Mr. Biden, pardon me. They're going to get me. And the fact that he was influencing things, people saying allegedly. Are you kidding me? So here we have the director of whatever, infectious diseases, clearly having an issue with telling the truth. And no ramifications, no problem with it. You know, it's scary. I ran into a friend of mine, a very, very wonderful person. And I was talking to this person. And they said one of their kids had gotten into trouble. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, they got into an issue. And I said, surely you know people. They could help you mitigate this thing. And they said, you know, if you go that route, A, it's not going to happen. B, it could make it even worse. And C, this is what you have to do. And this was for a simple, a regular Greg Ferreira, uh-oh. And then we have the scandal of Joe Biden. And then we have the scandal of the press covering it up. And then we have just the craziness of cities not obeying federal law. And I'm looking at this going, are you kidding me? Why is there such greater accountability for those of us that work and pay taxes than these progressive liberal politicians? That's what I'd like to know. And look, nobody likes to embarrass people. Well, people east of the Great River, that's their native language. But for most of us in Idaho, because we like people, because we're good people, we just kind of let people pass. But thinking about this, you know, here we have the Department of Justice that may be able to release, and they say, CNN says, potentially embarrassing Biden audio recordings. If you have a Republican who's in the Department of Justice and his job is to interview Joe Biden, and he does it, and he says it's so bad we can't take him to trial, you don't want those released. It's like Kevin Miller's 75 before pictures. You don't want those released unless there's an after, and it better be a pretty good darn after. If not, not good. Former President Joe Biden is in an uphill battle to try to stop the Justice Department from releasing his recordings collected of him speaking to his ghostwriter in 2016, 2017. Now, again, remember, this has been decided, apparently. District Judge Danby Frederick, siding with the Heritage Foundation on Friday, after listening to the tapes for herself, wrote the Justice Department was within its abilities to decide to release the tapes now. She said the Justice Department plans to redact parts of the tapes, and she decided that Biden's privacy arguments largely overlooked the department's recent redactions and reasoning. Frederick agreed that Biden's interest in keeping the tapes private was somewhat diminished by the publication of his resulting memoir, Promise Me Dad, Among the Reasons. Well, here you have it. Joe needed the money. Joe wanted the gig, right? So in releasing this, he gave them the opening to go and do what? Get the tapes. You imagine that? Again, they don't give Donald Trump a pass on anything. But imagine what they've done with Joe Biden. On a clearly other note, just because I saw this.
Mexico gets tens of billions of dollars a year from workers in the U.S. who are transmitting money to Mexico. India is another big one. Major immigrant groups are sending their money overseas. Well and good. And they should be able to do that as long as they are lawfully in the United States. And what we're saying here is that don't allow people to send money overseas if they're either on a deportation list or they're not lawfully employed. You're essentially letting them send ill-gotten gains abroad, and we're saying cut that off. And if you want to stop people from coming here illegally, stop the ability for them to send that money back to their family in the home country.
Yeah. It's been written somewhere that, Mexico makes more money off of people sending their money back home than oil. And by the way, that's not a slight. Back home is Mexico. And you have a lot of people that come here legally, a lot of people that come here, and you know what they do is they actually work hard, become legal citizens, but they send money back to their family, which is perfectly fine. Now, you come here illegally, you come here in a bad way, and all of a sudden, you still can send money back home? I don't know about that. I don't think that is the right move. Now, how would you cut that off? How would you do that? Because once you do it legally,
I hope every one of you that's allowed me.
Once you do that legally, you're going to have people finding a way to do it illegally. Hence the word coyotes and illegal immigrants. That having been said, we have gotten through the first segment of the program, brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise. Check them out today, not to be confused with Window World Boise. Window World Boise on Chinden. This is the time to do it. The weather's going to break. Why not get a look, get an estimate, go talk to Yo, go Yo. That's his name, Yo, and say, Yo, I'd really like Kevin Miller windows. You want Kevin Miller windows? Well, Miller windows are affordable, credible, long-lasting, warranty guaranteed, and they're not going to break the bank. No, it's amazing when you think about it. Well, what about the cost of windows? And then you see all these people advertising their windows. And I'm sure all those windows are great. Buy one, get 5 free. It must be a heck of a price for the first one. Not at Window World. Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Like I said, conveniently located on Chinden Boulevard. They are local, employing local people that locally install your windows, that locally love to do it, that if there's a problem, they love to come back and fix it. No Greg Ferreira uh-ohs. Check them out today. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. All right, coming up next, one man quits and makes a scene. Would you do this? Find out the details with Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. On the right side, the right team, rolling. You ever just want to go back to that old song, take this job and shove it? Well, it happened to a local young reporter. An Iowa news anchor announces he's quitting live on the air, delivers an emotional farewell calling for facts over sanitized news. Dustin Nolan told viewers at KWQC TV6 that Friday was his last day, saying he chose to step away from the news industry entirely, not just switch stations.
I hope every one of you that's allowed me to be a part of your mornings know just how important that I have taken this job. How much it means to me that you've trusted me these past few years to bring you the news in the morning. I promise you I've given you everything I have, I've never tried to be perfect or what many think a newsman is supposed to be, but I have always done my best to be transparent, bring you the facts, and I've always been myself.
You know, for somebody from Iowa, he sounds like he's from the South. They don't talk like that in Iowa. But we continue. It's getting good, or is it?
I've loved being able to provide a public service to this place we all call home, the Quad Cities. When it comes to this job, all I've ever wanted to do is report on the issues that really matter. I've always believed that we, as a local news station, owe you, the viewers, the best that we can do, because without you, none of us would be able to do this job. I also believe that we, as a local news station, have to be more than trends or sanitized news.
So, dude, you're going to love this. Apparently, they cut him off. They cut him off. Wow. There you have it. I guess he didn't get that cleared with people. It reminds me of Dennis Michael Lynch when he was on Newsmax. I think when Newsmax was first starting out, and he goes, and I'm going to be gone here in a minute. And they went to commercial. He goes, I'm not going to commercial. And eventually he went to commercial, and he was gone. He was gone. Crazy. He was just gone. Sad. That's what happens. The sanitized news, if you will. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A man who continues to get a lot of feedback. I haven't really had a lot of positive feedback on Al, who joins us now at 580-KIDO.
Hey, that's kind of like me. I call up and then I get cut off. You got to sanitize it, okay? Like yesterday.
You get cut off at like 20 minutes.
No, yesterday. Look, I told you that Jefferson stopped slavery, and then you disparagingly said I was wrong or something, and then you cut me off real quick. But hey, look, I mean, facts are overrated, Kevin. That's your mantra. So I'm just trying to help. I'm just calling in to help you out because you're a Hamiltonian. Okay, we understand what Hamiltonians are all about. Okay, they're all about a centralized national government that's so strong and advocates for loose interpretations of the Constitution, right? Arguing that the government has implied powers and can do anything it wants that's necessary and proper. You Hamiltonians, you know who that sounds like? That sounds like the socialist, opportunist, statist, Marxist, cowards, communist, freaks, simpletons, and slackers. But what about the Jeffersonians? Jefferson, who really stopped slavery, because what did he do? He stopped the slaves coming to the United States, right, in 1807. What happened is he had the snowball at the very top of the mountain, and he's the one. Who made
Thomas Jefferson?
He was
Who made Thomas Jefferson? It was Alexander Hamilton that saved Jefferson. Remember, because wasn't it Hamilton that voted Jefferson over Burr to save the Republic?
Look, listen.
But Jefferson never had that same love for Hamilton that Hamilton did for the hated Jefferson. Jefferson, who stole Madison from Hamilton. Yes, you Jeffersonians. Oh, Thomas Jefferson, the great liberator, the great intellect. Yeah, I'll go with Hamilton every day. Hamilton saved the Republic.
Yeah, you will, because that's it, Kevin. That's your feminine side. Like yesterday, that was very feminine, cutting me off. That's okay. The liberal feminine side coming out there, Kevin, and that's Hamiltonian, right? Because guess what?
How is that? How is Hamiltonian feminine?
Because anything goes. Oh, well, we can change this. Okay, Jefferson, he says, no, you got to listen to the Constitution, right? Words mean things. And what did he say? We see this problem right now today in the government. And what did Jefferson say? He said that courts were subtle corps of sappers and miners constantly working to underground to undermine the foundations of our constitutional fabric. He understood that the judiciary should be held accountable, but they're not. You see, they control everything. Okay, and even when you look at Marbury v. Madison, okay, and you see what Chief Justice Marshall said, he said that legislative acts that are repugnant to the Constitution are void, right? What about judicial acts that are repugnant to the Constitution? Are those void also? No, because the judiciary is Hamiltonian. It does anything that's proper and necessary, you see. And so this is the problem we have right here. And unfortunately, talking about education yesterday, look, the problem is we don't have, look at the education we get is not education. It's not. We don't get education at our colleges or in our high schools. What we get is mal-education. So people don't even understand history. Okay, you got to be autodidactic. You have to teach yourself, because what we get from the colleges today just basically turns everybody into mush. They don't understand anything, And like hearing yesterday, I think that Chandler's right. Ossoff is going to be the very top, because we have ignorant populations. I think people in Idaho, they're going to listen to somebody like Ossoff because he doesn't know anything. And
if that's the case, why haven't we elected Democrats?
You have.
Who?
But you just don't understand what words mean.
Wait a minute. Who's a Democrat that's elected a Republican in Idaho? Go ahead, genius. Tell us.
You look at, you know who they are. You know who these.
The great Al, when called out, can't back it up.
Well, look, you know who the rhinos are. Listen, they're all basically moved by what? By disguised language, under the diversity of language. They disguise all their assertions under the diversity of language, and that people have such little education, they can't understand what's going on. Okay, so you talk about what the problem is. By you're flashing, you're flailing at the leaves. But what's truly, who the heck is really hitting at the root of the problem? Nobody, very few people, because they don't have the education to understand what the real problem is. And the real problem is the fact that we have, an educational system that doesn't tell us the truth about Thomas Jefferson. And now what do you have? You have, Jefferson said that, that each one of the branches should be departmentalized. You can't have, the judiciary coming in here and telling the executive this or the legislative this, that, or the other. It has to go by the Constitution. And right now, what we have is these federal bureaucratic judges and the judiciary telling us, for instance, that you have to have transgenders in the military. That is totally unconstitutional for them to even say that. They have nothing to do with that. That is the commander-in-chief who says if he thinks that people don't have the capability to be part of the military, that's his call, not not the bureaucrats.
I don't even know where this conversation has gone, Al. I mean, at least you're not bagging on the ladies today.
Well, you see, the whole thing is this, you don't know where this conversation is going, because
all I know is that you're Mr. Softy for Mr. Jefferson.
No, what I know is that you're Mr. Squashy for Mr. Hamilton, because
I am. I'm a proud Hamiltonian, because Hamilton realized the need for order. So we didn't have people like you running wild and free and causing chaos. Hamilton saved us after the Whiskey Rebellion. Hamilton brought in the National Bank.
Over everything. Order over everything.
Yeah, what's it like? Yeah. What's it like without order? Why don't you go to San Francisco and hang out with the boys? They'll tell you.
Hey, listen, let me tell you, order like Stalin, right? Yeah, that's what you want.
Order like MacArthur. Order like Reagan.
What you want is a centralized power, like Stalin. And that's exactly
At least I'm not dressed up as a pink frog with Antifa and promoting algae.
Well, you let me tell you something. You really are, but you don't know that you're doing that because the way you push this centralized government, being your daddy, wiping your rear end, giving you 43%.
Yeah, Hamilton is my daddy. Hamilton is my daddy, and Jefferson is your daddy. He's your pop-up.
Let me tell you, Hamilton is just like, Thomas Hobbes and the Leviathan. Okay, Jefferson aligns with John Locke and natural law.
You know something? At least Hamilton never stole somebody's best friend, James Madison. Al, thank you for the call. A spirited debate that hopefully was entertaining. Most likely not, but we love Al. We appreciate his call. And it is something you're not going to get on any of the other shows like on national TV. We like to go back and forth. Coming up next, we'll talk about people that are pro-algae. That's right. The left has really gone Looney Tunes. Hopefully we can help you wake up on the right side. And yes, there is a sane world right here in Idaho. Kevin Miller in the morning, brought to you by 580 KIDO Traffic. We are continuing to monitor the situation in Iran, in Switzerland, in everywhere. This is interesting. The president continues to highlight an issue based on his court rulings and findings. From Nick Sorter, breaking news, foreign-born Judge Sparkle Sukhanan, yeah, that's her actual name, has just barred the Trump administration from checking citizen data for voters per the Associated Press. Democrats are terrified about illegals no longer being able to vote. So we're now denying people the opportunity to have a legal and fair vote. That's why we need the Save America Act. That's why we need to verify our voting, to eliminate anybody questioning the validity of elections. And let me just say this. People go after President Trump all the time for what happened after the 2020 election. And I think yesterday we were talking, that's right, Chandler was talking about Ossoff in Georgia. And we live in Idaho. We're very remote. And we have a beauty about us. Perhaps we're naive about things. But remember, it was Stacey Abrams that started the election fraud conspiracy stuff. A Democrat that legitimately lost to Brian Kemp not once but twice. And then what did she do? She kept saying that she was the real governor, which was just crazy. And these liberal loons, they called Bush Hitler. So the right, and there are a lot of people in Idaho this way, they don't back down. They just call people out. Perhaps I'm from the more antiquated, genteel area, as Al would accuse me of being feminine, where people discuss things, and it was entertaining, and it was provocative. I was very blessed to be on Hardball, my favorite show with Chris Matthews, debating Ed Schultz, God rest his soul. And all these shows where I was the young punk, the young KIDO, the young KIDO, before I would ever become a KIDO Jedi Knight. And it was fascinating to have intellectual debates that never got personal. And today, that's all it is. This show continues to grow thanks to you. And as I was sitting there, my parents are in. And so my parents, it's very interesting how we spend our days. I was blogging, and they're watching the Newsmax, and then they're watching Real American News. It's kind of like hanging out with Captain Harry. And as I'm watching this stuff, these guys from Real American News are covering what we've covered, the algae thing, the reflecting pool, everybody's going into the reflecting pool, and it's the reflecting pool, reflecting pool, reflecting pool. And in reality, whether it's the crazy algae people or it's others that they hate the president so much they want to make him look bad, they're damaging a beautiful national monument that, as you know, we've been there several times broadcasting from.
Vandalism, vandalism. We have I think 290, 300-foot slit right through it, probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind. Or we had people lifting up the basic, some of the, it's not a lot of damage, but we'll probably have to let the water out and refix it. They went in there with a knife. I was just told by the people over at Parks, they have 5 people are arrested and 5 people are under investigation right now. And it's a sad thing. In addition to that, we put brand new, beautiful grass all around. They put these massive letters on the grass. You probably know about that, right? And they said 8647. They probably got that from the dirty cop, Comey. You know he's a dirty cop, don't you? Dirty cop. He's a crooked guy. They destroyed the grass. So that's a big thing. But we're going to get it back very soon.
National Guard and police have been all over the mall. How would these vandals have gotten so close to do something like that?
Do you have any proof of this?
We didn't have a lot of them then. Who would think that somebody would go into a pool and take a knife and start cutting it?
But do you have proof of that?
Yeah.
Do you have photos or videos?
Well, let's put it this way. When you have a 350, I think it's 350, not 250, a 350-foot slit from one end to the other, you think that's proof? You think that's proof?
Reporters have been down there today looking for that slit that you mentioned, and there's no evidence of it.
All you'd have to do is see the Parks Department. They'll show it to you. Or see the secretary. But I saw it. They cut it. They cut it very violently. The same thing with the floor. They cut it. And then they lifted it. They pulled it. And that's what it is.
Now, look, we all do things for the love of the game. Parents sit and watch games, sometimes really boring, miserable games. Sometimes they coach. Sometimes they get the orange slices. Sometimes they do all sorts of wonderful things. And they do it because they love their kids or their grandkids. You know, one of the craziest things in a great way, and I don't know if you've been a part of it, wherever your kid or grandkid goes to school, is the visiting grandparent. And the visiting grandparent comes in, and primarily we know where the visiting grandparent are from. They're from California. And as the family has moved here to be safe, as the family has moved here to be brought up in a wonderful, wonderful family-first environment, these folks come in and they happily sit through these recitals and everything else. They happily do all these things. And it's wonderful to see the kids and their grandparents flying. Maybe sometimes the grandparents' money is tight, but they do it anyway. Give their last dollar to their kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. The volunteers, the people in the foster family program. And yes, I will say it, the foster pet program. You could be in Cabo Schmabo, but instead you're cleaning the animal shelter or taking a look at a kid that otherwise would be neglected. I get why people do that. I really don't get why people would go to a reflecting pool in the National Mall and allegedly cut a 350-foot cut in it. Or dress up in a pink, some type of weirdo outfit and start going, algae, algae, algae. Let me share with you what would have happened if that happened in my day. In my day, that person would have been stuffed, cuffed, and tuffed, padlocked, locked up, given a haircut, and fumigated. And probably sent to a place that they used to call the loony bin. Today, we put them on social media. Today, we put them as some type of heroes. Look at them. They've dressed up and they're promoting algae. Boy, they must love America. They're fighting Donald Trump. No, they're very ridiculous. And, you know, it's crazy where you have people swearing and doing all sorts of things. Somebody saying that, you know, they're harassing Oklahoma State troopers. And what are these people doing? The park police and everybody else? They are protecting national monuments. Have they now become politicized because the left hates this man? Because the left can't stand that, remember, let's go back to it. We're winning. You have the left cheering on Al-Qaeda, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and everything else, which is pretty wild when you think about that in a strange, horrific way. That's the problem. And that should be done with. Here you have 5 people arrested for vandalizing property, including an Olympian, a hurdler, a shot putter. No, a canoeist. Who would have ever thought that canoeing was a sport in the Olympics? But now he says he's a good Olympian and he didn't vandalize everything. You can't really jump into the reflecting pool, can you?
What is wrong with trying to clean up the Capitol and make it look nice? And you've got people who want to go out there and wreck this newly refurbished pool. At least 5 people have been arrested for vandalizing the property, including former Olympic canoeist David Hearn. He denies the vandalism and says he only reached into the pool to examine the new coating. But as you can see there, authorities are not buying that claim. Also, Fox News Digital reports records show that Hearn has ties to a major left-wing fundraising network. They show he donated to Democratic fundraising apparatus at.
Stay in the canoe. Stay out. Stay out. Please, sir, stay out of the pool. More coming up next. Kevin Miller on your home for Sean Hannity, 580 KIDO. Get hopping, give us a call, and we will put you on, and we'll make sure that you get a great chance to save America, or at least save your Saturday.
But at the same time, I love that analogy. These guys missed the border. Yeah. They missed the victims of illegal gang members, women who were raped and murdered. They missed the entire COVID crime cover-up, which right now is exploding. I think, algae is the perfect analogy of left-wing politics. You can't, you can get rid of it and make things beautiful, but it's going to grow back. And so you kind of have to constantly battle it because it lives off the things that you make. If there was no reflecting pool, there would have been no algae. If there was no lawn, there would have been no 8647. If there was no wealth and prosperity, there would be no socialism. So you see how they all have to depend on people making and creating things in order for it to survive. It must be weird to hate nice things because people you hate like the nice things. If Trump said, I love food, would these idiots starve themselves to death? Maybe as an experiment, he should come out against rat poison just to see if they would sprinkle it on their oatmeal. Now they embrace algae. They embrace vandalism because it's anti-Trump, but that is nothing new. They've embraced vandalism before. They've torn down statues. The old line, if Trump cured cancer, they'd call it an attack on funeral homes.
There we have it, Greg Gutfeld from The 5. Remember, when you hear Fox News, you're listening to 580 KIDO. Carolyn Levitt back from maternity leave. We'll hear from her in a minute with our own Sean Hannity. Coming up, we'll hear from Dave Petzo, get his thoughts on money and affordability. We're going to put Mr. Petzo on the hot seat and see how he reacts. Of course, he's been doing this for 35 years. The longest-running program, literally on 580 KIDO. So I think he'll be able to handle it. We look forward to speaking with Dave coming up. Carolyn Levitt talking about the leftist loony algae lovers. And what I loved about Gutfeld's point is, where were they on the border? Where were they on Dementia Joe? Where were they on the narco-terrorism? Where were they on these crimes? And it's unfortunate that we don't have ABC, NBC, CBS. Well, we might have CBS and possibly CNN now. But the left has become so used to conditioning people through local and national media outlets, the useful idiots, as we like to call them, that the idea of critical thinking, the idea of facts, the idea of we have 300,000 kids lost by Joe Biden. We have people that are victims. And what do they say? If you crack down on illegals, you're the bad person.
Well, the baby is certainly much more enjoyable to talk about, Sean, but the algae is obviously the news of the day, and it is completely ridiculous. It's unbelievable to see these people, these deranged leftists in algae costumes with Team Algae on their backs. What does that even mean? Only the Democrats could hate beautifying our nation's capital and making it a symbol of pride again. But this is what the American people elected President Trump to do. He made this promise to them on the campaign trail that he was going to make our nation's capital both safe and beautiful again, and it is a promise that he has kept. With respect to safety, violent crime has plummeted. The city is the safest it's been in generations. Murders are down 40%. And with respect to the beautification of the city, I live here working, of course, at the White House, and you can see it with your own eyes as you travel throughout the city. The homeless encampments are gone. You see the parks are cleaned up. The president has restored more than 120 monuments across the city. The National Park Service has used more than 150 tons of material to clean up the potholes that everybody hates. And I don't know about you and your audience, but this is the type of work that I want to see our tax dollars going towards, making our nation's capital and our nation's cities safe and beautiful again for not just tourists, but the residents who live here. This is a very real problem in the district. It has been for a while. President Trump is solving it. Leave it to the deranged Democrats to be against that.
There we have it. Carolyn Levitt from our own Sean Hannity show. Catch him today at 1. And she's right about that. The deranged lunatic fringe. Let's roll to traffic now at 580 KIDO. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Bright sunshine on the windshield as you're coming out of Candy County into Ada County to have an accident working right near Garrity. It's on the left-hand side right there on the on-ramp. And then between Mountain Home and Boise, another accident westbound milepost 80. You'll find lane blockage there. Fence and Lumber is your Cedar Factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Fence and Lumber, open in Cuna, online at fenceandlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
And appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Now, this is interesting. This story just coming out about the Snake River Stampede. But they were worried about the screwworm. Apparently, last week during the stampede, they took active precautions to protect animals. They had the staff inspect animals for open wounds and report concerns to veterinarians, while manure is treated with chemicals to prevent larvae spread. The rodeo ensures that animals from infected areas do not participate, with most show animals coming from Idaho or Colorado. So again, like we said, we broke this story. Then we had a lady call and yell at my boss. And one of my bosses, let's see, I got the Lord. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me. I've got Mrs. Miller Enterprises. I've got the Little Alleys. I've got the Godless Corporation. Then I've got the local boss, Mike Owens Promotions. Mike Owens Promotions. We love Mike Owens. Then I've got Big Brad. She was calling Big Brad and yelling at Big Brad about my screwworm article. Well, what's wrong with the screwworm? I'll tell you about it next. The following message was for entertainment purposes only, not to be taken seriously. Kevin Miller, we love you, and I'm serious. 580 KIDO. Can't take no for an answer. A man who we put on his back repeatedly, and yet he's coming back for more. Well, Mr. Savage, you want to come into the potato cartel? You want to have French fries or baked or gratin or whatever? Here we are. Once again.
We call them chips over here.
And you can take your chips and your friends in Ireland and everybody else, but we all know the world's best potato comes from Idaho.
And they might do. For all I know, they do. I not to my knowledge, have I had an Idaho potato unless I've had one on my trips to the United States. Do the potatoes travel far and wide?
If you've ever eaten at the American fast food outlet Five Guys, if you've eaten at any fine establishment, the potatoes are usually from Idaho. In fact, remember when I first moved here, they said we don't even get the Idaho potatoes. We get the Washington ones because the good ones get sent out of state. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll roll with it because it's early.
Well, that would be disgraceful. But I mean, if the demand is there, then Idahoans are good people for allowing others to taste their potatoes.
Well, what we like to say here is it's what's best for business.
Always best for business.
That's right.
Yeah, glad to hear. You got your head screwed on. No, I don't care what anyone says.
I'm with you. Let me hit you with this. So this loser steps down, and Trump calls him a loser because he's weak. Are people in the United Kingdom feeling the same way?
Well, he was not popular, that's for sure. President Trump said Keir Starmer was a nice man, lovely family, but he didn't deliver, particularly as regards Iran, because he wanted more help with Iran. And you and I have talked about that many times about Keir Starmer's unwillingness to throw his weight behind the U.S. and the Iran conflict. But that was not Keir Starmer's biggest problem, in all honesty. His biggest problem was his intense unpopularity back home, less than 2 years after winning an enormous landslide general election. He just couldn't deliver the change that he promised. Weak growth, high public debt, the cost of living. People just didn't see improvement in their day-to-day lives, and they didn't see Keir Starmer as someone who had the kind of vision, who had the kind of charisma, who could drive the United Kingdom forward. But the problem for the United Kingdom isn't really that the Prime Minister has resigned. It's the fact that when the next Prime Minister comes along, he or she will be the 7th in just 10 years. And the question is the United Kingdom now fundamentally ungovernable?
I would say, and President Trump will continue to do what President Trump does. Let's talk about a couple of other things going on in the world today. No, people are very concerned with the anti-Semitism going on in America and throughout the world. What about in Europe? What about in the United Kingdom?
There's been an awful lot of issues, an awful lot of problems this year with anti-Semitism. The British government declared anti-Semitism a crisis after a number of arson attacks, in particular in the UK, seemingly targeting synagogues, targeting ambulances run by a Jewish charity, and people in Britain, Jewish people in Britain, saying that they feel unsafe, saying it's hard to be openly Jewish in the United Kingdom in everyday life. And more Jews have moved to Israel in the past 12 months than any year since the turn of the century from the United Kingdom. That's according to Israeli government statistics. And relatively small numbers in total, but the trend is definitely there. So, yeah, there's no doubt that we are seeing problems for Jewish people. Anti-Semitism is rising, and up in Manchester not long ago, an attack at a synagogue killed 2 men. So this is a big problem in the UK, and one thing Keir Starmer will say is that one of his achievements was that he drove anti-Semitism out of his Labour Party. A lot of people perhaps think that the job hasn't been done.
Yeah, that's, what a challenge is for me and many people is that this anti-Semitism, this reluctance to support Israel continues to grow. And obviously, we remember what happened in World War II, the persecution of the Jewish people, what happened in October 7th. And yet here you have logical people believing that Israel is bad. Now, they don't go to the point of denouncing Israel, but they do not want to support Israel anymore.
And there are people who will come out and say, I'm not against Jewish people. I'm against the decisions of the Israeli government. But a lot of the problem is the way that is often expressed makes Jewish people feel incredibly unsafe. and unwanted. And a lot of the people who are saying, well, I'm against the Israeli government, not the Jewish people, they will stand shoulder to shoulder with, they will march alongside people who are openly hostile to the Jewish, to the existence of Israel as a state as well. So, yeah, there is an issue here. Jewish people in the UK experience more than 8 times as many hate crime incidents per head of population as Muslims do. Islamophobia is a problem, has been a problem for a long time, and there's been a spike in that too. But Jewish people for a long time felt that they were forgotten.
Yeah, it's fascinating, for me, disturbing that this presence continues to grow. So apparently all the talks are done in Switzerland. You hung out with those guys. What do you think?
Well, the leaders' talks are done in Switzerland. And of course, these things don't always go very smoothly. We had Vice President Vance saying yesterday that Iran had agreed to allow UN nuclear weapons inspectors back in. And then the Iranians came out and said, oh, no, we haven't. That's going to be a decision for our parliament to make. We haven't discussed nuclear things at all. President Trump today saying whatever Iran is saying in public, they absolutely are allowing nuclear weapons inspectors back in to ensure nuclear honesty. He said that these nuclear inspections will last long into the future. So, yeah, it is hard to keep track of who's saying what. It's hard to keep track of what the details in this are. But I think the most important factor is that both sides are still saying that they're working towards a long-term deal, and we'll just have to wait to see what that deal looks like.
And finally, from the Wall Street Journal, I don't know if you're into this, but the World Cup's juicy TV rivalry, the egomaniac and the loudmouth. You've got Alexi Lawless and some guys whose name I can't pronounce. Apparently, they're stirring the pot on Fox as Thierry Henry and Rebecca Lowe keep the ball moving. Apparently, Henry Zoltan Ibrahimovic. You know who that is at all?
I think you're referring to Thierry Henry and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Thierry Henry.
Yeah, hold on. Hold on. What is his name? Zalta Balta?
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
But it's with an N. It ends with an N. So how in the world can it be Zalta?
Zlatan, not Zolta.
Zlatan.
Oh.
Yeah, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Is he Russian? No, he's Swedish.
He's Swedish.
See, this is what. Come on, man. Come on. How about Fred Jones? What the heck?
Well, because that's not a Swedish name either, is it?
So is this guy Thierry Henry or Thierry Henry? How do you pronounce this guy's name?
Thierry Henry.
Henry? But it's spelled
French.
Henry.
Yes, but the French language, they pronounce words differently. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't know that. I'm an American. Look, I know the only thing I know about French is what Peter Sellers played in Inspector Clouseau well before your time, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, the only thing you know about French was an Englishman's portrayal of a Frenchman.
Yes.
Yes.
So, can you give us any insight into this?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's a excoriating article in the British news website, The Guardian. It says, we all know someone like Alexi Lawless. He's the ranter whose rants never actually say anything. The life of the party at the party no one enjoys attending. He's corporate America's idea of a fun guy. People are not particularly impressed with Alexi Lawless, especially standing alongside two of the all-time greats of world soccer. He's a big personality. He has plenty to say for himself. Some people like him, some people don't. I mean, Jared Halpern, my colleague, he interviewed Alexi Lawless, had a great time, really enjoyed talking to him. I haven't seen any of this, of course, because I don't have Fox TV here in the UK. We're watching British TV channels, so I can't put my own my own 2 cents in.
He was a great player in the day, Alexi Lawless.
Great player. When he's standing alongside Thierry Henry and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the concept of great player changes somewhat. I mean, he's not in their league.
Well, he is in America. Hold on. Do you have a minute or not?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so this is what I know about the French.
My name is Professor Guy Gadbois, medieval castle authority from Marseille. Tell me, do you have a ring?
I do not know what a rum is.
Of course, Zimmer. You've not seen this movie.
Zimmer.
Ah, a rum.
That is what I have been saying, you idiot. Ring. Does your dog bite? No. Nice dog. I thought you said your dog did not bite.
That is not my dog.
Analysis?
That is... I know it was Federico Clouseau, but it was actually summing up Alexi Lalas's contribution to the World Cup quite nicely.
You win this one, Mr. Savage.
And with that, I must go because I am wanted at KONA. They're hammering on the door for me. Over
Kona.
there, yeah.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
There we have it, Jonathan Savage. Like I said, you want to talk about Americana? This is Americana when we're talking about the French.
Nice Dougie.
Dougie, did your dog bite?
I thought you said your dog did not bite.
That is not my dog.
And that qualifies as perhaps the most ridiculous segment of the day. The war, the peace still continues, and depending on who you believe, we have a truce, and we have oil flowing through, and we have all sorts of things going on, and it's great. Well, by the way, why don't we do this? Let's take a look at what's going on in Iran.
After Vice President J.D. Vance announced that Iran has agreed to allow international atomic energy inspectors into their country, President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning saying, in part, if they did not agree to this, there would be no further negotiations. Well, the Iranians today are going on the record saying they did not agree to this point.
We neither had a meeting with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, nor do we have any plan for the agency to inspect Iran's nuclear facilities damaged as a result of the U.S. military aggression and the Zionist regime.
Now, President Trump saying that if Iran doesn't live up to their end of the agreement, he'll do what he has to do.
Wow. He'll do what he has to do. Will anybody back the president? Let's hope so. By the way, it is not going to be a good day for Dave Petzo. His beloved stocks are in the red. Now, they're still up, and they're still killing it. And please don't go, well, what about my 401k? I've got so much into it. I get it. I understand it. Just going to be a bumpy road. We will get the insight from the Money Matters guy coming up in less than 40 minutes. Phone number's here. We'd love to hear from you. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Go to our KIDO Talk Radio website. We have a lot of two posts concerning the Boise mayor. And she is producing so much content that I can't keep up with it. And basically, what we're seeing is the beginning of her run for re-election. Now, she hasn't said that she is going to run for re-election. Maybe it's her new staff people. Maybe it's her new whatever, but she has decided, and we see this with a lot of people. The mayors are now deciding to become personalities. Last week, we broke the news that she was painting curbs. Because, let's face it, we hired the mayor to paint curbs. And never mind, she's going to raise taxes. Never mind, you have people that said the mayor who was elected to listen is not listening to the people. The mayor is creating herself as a social media influencer. And she's giving us a lot of relevant cult of personality information. Let's take a listen to the mayor of Boise, courtesy of her Facebook page, where she's talking about birds and bird sanctuaries, and we've got to make sure that the birds are taken care of because birds are very important. Let's try not to blow out everybody's ears, Sweet William, and here we go. Well, does it work now? I mean, we had it a minute ago.
Library at Bound Crossing just unveiled a new bird-safe mural on windows to protect birds, to prevent them from flying into the windows at the library. This bird-safe mural was designed by a Boise State student, and it's really beautiful. And it joins the library at USTIC and the new education center at the zoo, and having bird-safe windows to prevent bird strikes, because we've heard from so many residents that this matters. Library at Bound Crossing just unveiled a new bird-safe mural.
Breaking news, we're raising taxes, and there's a bird crossing to keep birds safe.
I am here at Spud.
And now the mayor is opening up restaurants.
Hey there, Boise. I am here at Spud Daddy. This weekend, Spud Daddy is opening right downtown in Bodo, and I'm here with the Spud Daddy himself.
Oh, hi.
Thomas, tell us about the business.
So this is Spud Daddy. It's super cool. We have plants and we have paintings on the walls. More importantly,
so here you have this poor guy trying to open up a business. So then you have somebody on Facebook going, "Go home, mayor. Bad news. Go away, mayor." And I won't say what they describe the mayor as. And then somebody replying, Rob, saying, "You don't even live here. It doesn't concern you." So once again, you're going to see other people.
Boise, I am so excited.
Okay, hold on. Now, this is the mayor in a dress. We always love it when women, not men, are in a dress. We're going to show our bias. So remember, we've got police issues. We used to. Maybe we don't. I don't know if there's a police shortage. I hear they buy nothing but electric vehicles when the city of Boise needs new vehicles. How about keeping the old ones so the taxes will go down, the rezoning, the construction, and this is the mayor of Boise, Idaho's largest city, Idaho's capital city.
Hello, Boise. I am so excited. The river is open. So before you head out on the river today, check out Float the Boise for all detailed information and updates. Be sure you're safe. Bring life jackets, check in with your friends, and then use the pullouts we've got and have fun. So excited that summer has truly begun. You might want a wetsuit. It's a little cold.
I know there's a lot of people that use the pregnant pause too much, but just like when you're having something very spicy, I'm just allowing you to digest it for a minute. So apparently there's no traffic in Boise. There's no, people are happy to pay additional taxes. Lynn Bradescu calling in last week complaining about what they've done to the trees at Harrison Boulevard, the flagpoles, how much money was spent. And here we have Mayor McLean.
Hello, Boise. I am so excited. The river.
She's excited. She's excited. Is she excited to lower taxes? Is she excited to get tough on crime? No. She's literally knee-deep in the Boise River.
Is open. So before you head out on the river today, check out Float the Boise for all detailed information and updates. Be sure you're safe.
Don't they hire people to do this? Maybe the mayor has a lot of free time. How much money does the mayor make? Are taxpayers getting return on their investments? You know, I could see the political ad if there was any political opposition to the Democrats. While the Boise mayor floated in the river, you were paying more in taxes.
Life jackets.
And she's happy about it.
Check in with your friends, and then use the pullouts we've got and have fun. So excited this summer.
How can you have fun when you can't pay additional taxes? Oh, that's right. While she's floating the Boise River, you're working a third job.
Has truly begun. You might want a wetsuit. It's a little cold. Hello, Boise.
Hello, Boise.
As we celebrate World Refugee Day this year, I wanted to tell you about.
That's right up there with Joe Biden. Much more coming up. Then we have the mayor shopping for groceries. Shopping for groceries. I'd say she's Martha Stewart, but that's an antiquated reference. I like that, though. New headline, Boise mayor becomes Martha Stewart of Idaho. Brian in Nampa, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for reminding me why I live in Nampa. I'm just saying,
I'm with you.
I can't take her. Like, Kevin, I'm going to share something I just learned about. Hey, Canada is a gun-free zone, right? It's actually a knife-free zone, too. They just had a shooting in a family mall area. And to make matters worse, apparently 3 people so far. I don't know how many injured. The female cop that went in to help shot one of the guys trying to get away from the perpetrator because she mistaked him as the bad guy and killed him. So I just want all my Democratic and even some Republican friends that believe in, gun-free zones and that Brian, the elite clicker, shouldn't have a handgun on him, that tell me, and I love the military and the police, but we need to do a better job in selecting people that are capable of dealing with, deadly threats and know how to stay calm and shoot the correct person, not the person trying to get away. You're either cut out for that kind of stuff or you're not. And unfortunately, in this situation, a female cop killed a civilian. So when the government controls the guns, civilians can't have guns. All you can do is call the cops, and then the government makes the wrong choice on who can have guns. I hope you're wearing body armor. And I still go back to what I said before, Kevin, that my neighbors like me. They're glad I'm armed. But again, I'm a different kind of person. I can stay calm in a deadly situation. I can keep my cool. And so far, Kevin, I'm 54 years old, and I've never killed anybody, and I've been armed since I was, I would say, 12. So that's what. I'm just saying, like, when is this gun control argument going to end? Canada is a gun-free zone. Apparently the criminals don't listen to laws. They kill people. They buy weapons they're not supposed to have. So I'm just curious what our liberal left mayor of Boise says to guys like me that says, no, thank you. I'm glad that I'm in America and I have the Second Amendment, and I'll defend myself, thank you. Any questions?
Brian, I appreciate it, and I know there are a lot of people that are happy they live in Nampa after hearing what we heard this morning.
Yeah, all I can tell the people of Boise is choose better. Are you kidding me? What a joke. I can't believe it's here in Idaho. Apparently some people have moved into the state that don't vote like me, Kevin. Have a good
Brian,
day.
glad you're rolling. Thank you for the information, as always. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. More coming up. Don't forget that we would love to give you some tickets to the Boise Music Festival this Saturday. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO traffic. Pushed to be a social media influencer. Here she is talking about groceries.
Global Gardens is an organization that supports refugee farmers, refugees who take part in farming to feed their families, but also now as part of a CSA, that's Community Supported Agriculture, so they're helping feed our community. In fact, Scott and I are members of Global Gardens CSA, and we love seeing Sophia every week as we pick up our vegetables right here outside of St. Luke's. I'd encourage you to check out Global Gardens, but also to find other opportunities to experience how rich.
And then we have her stumbling with her big bag of groceries. And again, the mayor, pro-international, pro-refugees. That's great. But what about the Idaho farmers? With all due respect to the mayor, didn't she go to Dubai for the conference where they wanted to cut meat consumption by 40%, according to published reports paid for by the Bloomberg Foundation? What about somebody in Cuno? What about supporting farmers in Ada County? I guess we're just not highfalutin enough.
How rich our city's culture is because of the refugees that call Boise home. As we celebrate World Refugee Day this year,
there we have it. Again, it took this program to call out the entire community to say, where's the 4th of July parade? This radio show, you. And then, because influential people listen to this program, and I don't lie, I remember where we were. It was myself and Mike Owens in the Walmart parking lot in Nampa. They said, hey, we're working with the city. We would love you guys to be a part of it. Specifically, you, Kevin Miller, because you've been a past co-grand marshal. You can bring this back. And I said, look, we're we're happy that the city decided to listen to Kevin Miller and 580 KIDO and the Miller Militia. We're happy that this is happening. We're happy that this group is working with the volunteers, We the People, to sponsor it. But as myself and Mike Owens, he comes out to visit all the time to support the Boise Rescue Mission and to support Kevin Miller and to support KIDO Talk Radio. We just couldn't do it. We talk about the Boise Music Festival, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of volunteer efforts. Afterwards, we're all toast. And thankfully, they did find people to do it, and those people do a fine job. I'm not going to ever say, I'm not ever going to malign people. I'll tell you the truth. I'll give you my opinion. But they wanted us. And as I said before, with God and Country, we decided to move on, and God bless them. We love them. They're going to do a great job without us. It's time to give, sometimes people have a problem with sharing. It's time to give other people opportunities, and that's what we do. So the mayor, who is just sitting there, and there's a visual of her stumbling and trying to be funny because she's got the bag of groceries she's buying from the refugees. But what about the Idaho farmers that need the food? What about the Boise Farmers Market? Is that not chic enough for the Boise mayor? And you think about this, who's the audience here?
how rich our city's culture is because of the refugees.
What about the people that pay the taxes? Do they not have the rich culture, or should they just go soak in the river?
Boise, I am so excited. The river is open. So before you head out on the river today, check out Float the Boise for all detailed information and updates. Be sure you're safe. Bring life jackets. Check in with your friends.
So there we have the mayor telling us how to be safe. Here we have Eric going, be careful. Water might make you melt. And then the comments pile on. Rich, photo op again. Fred, fall in. Let's see. Guess you didn't know we have we are having a downpour right now. Todd, never a photo op Mayor McLean won't miss. And it goes on and on and on. William, do you ever get sick of watching and only hearing your voice? And here's one. Kids, don't worry about life jackets as the mayor isn't wearing one in the video. Also, booze and nudity is encouraged. Otherwise, it's a snooze fest and you should stay just home and play video games. The snarky comments of people online. And what we're seeing here, and again, we'll play more of these clips. They might be annoying, but what we're seeing is a total shift from factual-based arguments. And perhaps, with all due respect to the mayor that graduated Notre Dame, we have respect for that institution. We have respect for her academic accomplishments. What we're seeing is a dumbing down of the electorate, an adolescent view of how to get reelected for a third term. Imagine that, a third term of Mayor McLean. Can Boise afford that? Can the state afford that? And the reason why I say that is what she's doing is every time there's a problem, she blames the state of Idaho, like she's being persecuted. She chose to be mayor. She took out Dave Beater. Dave Beater, beloved, a liberal, but a liberal that people could work with, a pro-business liberal. And whether it's climate, whether it's refugees, it's Mayor McLean. And she took him out because she promised to be a mayor that listens. Does the Boise mayor listen to anybody? Well, I know she hangs out, with the refugee market, but what about the Boise farmers market? I don't see that. It's almost like it's Portland. And I do believe that if Biden or Kamala had been reelected, she would be out of here. She's auditioning, in my opinion, for a bigger gig. Not a better gig, but a bigger gig. And that's the nature of politics. That's the nature of media. That's the nature of a lot of things. People want to, make more money, have more influence, maybe be the president. Something to think about with Mayor McClain. But what we're seeing here is, in my opinion, just a very adolescent approach to work. She doesn't like the state, so she'll dress up in her pink outfit and talk about how she's being persecuted and that Boise's a welcoming city. So with all due respect, and I hope that our friends in the LGBTQ plus community can have a legitimate conversation on this issue. So if you disagree with the LGBTQ and you don't condemn them, what does that make you? Is it like the Republican Party? You have to have a purity test to have a conversation with people? That's what it seems like. And the mayor, once again, in a budgetary shortfall. Maybe we shouldn't be buying all the EV vehicles. Shouldn't we start with that? Maybe we should take a look at, do we really need to continue to grow? How about we take a look at just what a disaster the downtown is because of her massive construction projects? Oh, that's ACHD. It's always somebody with them, isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice somebody somewhere just owned up and took responsibility? Is that asking too much? More on that in a minute. And plus, what happens when a coffee shop refuses to serve you because you support Israel? Believe it or not, it happened to a liberal. Yeah. Crazy. We're weaponizing lattes. Thankfully, not in Idaho. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Ron Grant, who joins us now.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And we start the week with a good morning, Ron. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Well, I'm wondering, Ron, is it really possible to get peace of mind when it comes to money? People have incredible runs, but when there's a blip, a flip, a dip, a dap, people get scared. People say, oh, it's a recession. Oh, it's a depression. And they go, how in the world is it possible, if at all, to keep my money safe?
Well, that's where I come in. I help people keep that money 100% safe. And the products that I use, yes, are recession-proof and depression-proof. Babe Ruth had an annuity back in the day. His manager talked him into buying one. And when everybody else was standing in bread lines, Babe was living a comfortable life because he had purchased that annuity to get a lifetime income. A pile of money, a 401k and IRA is not a retirement plan. You have to have an income stream that you can live on for the rest of your life. And that's what I've done for my money. That's what I do for my clients' money. We make sure that we have a lifetime income out of the risk and the fees of the Wall Street casino, out of the downturns, out of the ups and the downs. And that's important because you worked hard. Some people worked 40 years, and now they want to retire. They want to enjoy life with their family. And a lot of people are going to outlive their money for three reasons. Number one, they didn't start early enough. Number two, they didn't put enough away. But number three, they stayed in risk too long. And my clients and I, we don't like that. We sleep at night knowing that we've got our money protected.
Well, Ron, how can people get a hold of you to protect their money?
Well, I put together an educational website, articles to read, videos to take a look at. You can even download a book, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income, off my site. And you can email me from the site. And that's safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how we can protect your assets, give you legacy protection for you and your family, zero stock market risk. And my number is 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy. Have a good day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. More coming up in a minute, but I don't know. I'm sure you've heard this clip, which is just very heartbreaking, if you will. I don't really like to play these clips because it's divisive, but it is trending.
Because in many ways, and with apologies to my dear spicy white friends, because I know that my white brothers and sisters do love a 4th of July. It is Independence Day. Everybody's barbecuing. It's a thing. I can promise you, black folks, we will take that day off. we will barbecue because we off. But black people nobody black I know is really excited about the 4th of July because it is what Frederick Douglass said it is. It is the celebration of slaveholders who freed themselves from having to pay taxes to the crown for their slave empire. And that is what it is. I mean,
yeah. This is a young lady that was kicked off MSNBC, MS Now, and says provocative things to get a reaction. I was watching Newsmax because my parents came over and took over my TV, which was fine. I like to watch the lib stuff, and maybe that influences me a little too much. But they had our buddy Tony Katz on, and then Alex Marlowe, and they were both back and forth auditioning to be who can be more outraged. And maybe it's because we're older, and maybe people get mad and stuff. It is unfortunate, but people, and maybe because we've hung out with Liberal Steve too much, people just say provocative things to try to get a reaction. The 4th of July, and for some reason my YouTube feed is giving me all these Civil War things, talking about Gettysburg and Vicksburg and Grant and Lee and Sherman and everything else. All these things going on. And I have to say, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, Joy Reid, talks about race. I think she grew up in Colorado, went to Harvard, was an Obama person. And then you have, what's her name, Alex, that got the boot from MSNBC as well. And they just seem to like to rejoice in offending people. And wouldn't it be nice if we had people just condemn these things, like AOC condemn this? Everybody condemn it. Get rid of the negative narrative current of the Hate America crowd. As I've said for years, I loved it when the Boston Pops played on CBS. And they would show people in the crowd celebrating, the 4th of July with the Boston Pops. And I think PBS did it, then CBS, and then A&E, and then it went away. But it was talking about the history of the songs. And you would have people of every persuasion because we've become an ethnocentric society. We're not Americans. We're hyphenated Americans. I'm not. I'm an American. I love America. Kevin, where are you from? America. No, your country. America. No, really, your ancestors. America. If you're not proud of that, and people go, well, I'm this American, I'm that American. No, don't believe the hype. When you have someone on the 4th of July go, hey man, that's what it's about, really? And you're going to have people go, well, yeah, you're right. No. You go back to, and it's funny, watching the old Civil War stuff, where we talk about Lee, and he thinks he's going to be arrested, and Grant gives him too generous of terms, and then Grant tells Lee, hey, Lee, you better tell your men, it's over. Well, I don't know. I got to talk to my president. And Grant looks at him and goes, there's only one president, Abraham Lincoln, the great liberator. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. Idaho for sponsoring this portion of the program. We appreciate those folks, and we're coming in. We're going to get I got my test results. Now Dr. Lyle will go over those with me on Thursday. And once again, we will be documenting that on video and then breaking that down and sharing that with you as we begin our progress. I've lost, 124 pounds now? And the last 100 will be under extensive medical attention. And we will be sharing that stuff with you in real time. If you are thinking about your health, and as I said before, it's a very challenging thing. You have to have trust in the people. You have to feel good about your care. You have to feel good about the people. And I will tell you this, my experience at Peak Health Idaho, going in there, it's a wonderful facility. It's very convenient, very easy to get in and out of. I call it the Tommy Ahlquist building right next to Topgolf. Bottom floor, go in, last on your left, right next to the gym. Wonderful lobby, very comfortable. Beverly does a great job. We have Dr. Lyle, we have Sean, and they truly work with you. And like I said, depending on your, whether you're a weightlifter, a bodybuilder, or just someone who would like to have more muscle because you've read that more muscle helps you live longer, or you're engaged in like, hey, I've beaten myself up for 20, 30 years. I need to invest in my longevity. They'll work with you. And they'll work with you when we're talking about medical, we're talking about holistic, we're talking about nutrition, We're talking about all these things that can be darn right intimidating and really confusing. They make it easy for you. Please check them out today. peakhealthidaho.com. And as I said before, it's a partnership. So we're working with Dr. Lau on the radio, and then we will be sharing the video stuff. And as I said before, I had to make a commitment to make this happen, because if you're like me and you've had more failures than successes, you need people that care. Medical attention, and of course, not only medical attention, but we're talking about nutrition, what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat. It can be scary, and no one wants to be uncomfortable. And I will tell you, it's a very comforting experience. Let's go to 580 KIDO traffic with our great friend, Dave Burnett. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studios, traffic now dealing with the final cleanup of that accident. I-84 eastbound right at the Garrodia on-ramp, so watch for that. It is on the left-hand side. If you're in the slow-down move to the right, stop-and-go traffic through the Meridian area. Now's the perfect time to save money and get that annual maintenance done on your AC. Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air. They'll tune up the AC for $29. Call Perfect or schedule online at callperfectnow.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Because I had such a nice interaction with the barista in the coffee shop. She was wearing a hijab. I didn't know her, but she couldn't have been nicer, and allowed my daughter to go use the bathroom. And I honestly was so grateful for her kindness that I felt like I should buy a coffee. And so I did, and I gave her a large tip. And it was diametrically opposite to that post that I came upon later. And it's a real sad, it's a reflection, I think, of a sad state of affairs that without knowing me, we could have had such a nice interaction. Two people, obviously from different backgrounds, different faiths, but that's what America is. And that's what New York City is. That is what I believe.
So there you have Dan Goldman, a congressman, went to a Poetica coffee, and all of a sudden they said that he wasn't welcome because he supports Israel. So apparently this Brooklyn coffee shop banned him over his views with Israel, which you wonder, hey, Representative Dan Goldman, we see that you stopped by our coffee shop today. Did you see how it doesn't taste like genocide juice? Yeah. And remember, maybe it was the lady that served him, passive-aggressive, nice to his face, and then naughty, naughty. Are you still having a hard time telling the difference? See, here at Poetica, we don't serve racist, fascist, homophobes, genocide enablers, or anyone in between. Too bad we didn't recognize you right away, or we would have turned you away. We issued you a refund. We don't need your money. It's probably going to Allipack anyways. Enjoy your loss on Tuesday. Don't ever come back again. Can't we all just get along? Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Dave Betso continues to work, continues to take a look at his beloved markets. Dave, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me on. What a gorgeous morning we have, huh?
Well, it is. And speaking of which, we're going to hit you with the big one. What do you make of affordability? Affordability. Your reaction?
Yeah. It's always hard to get started. Affordability overall seems okay to me. Specifically to people at the lower income end, it is difficult. But I'm not sure when it hasn't been. So when we're talking about affordability, it sounds like a political statement, attempt by the left and the right to change the dialogue. And it's an easy bumper sticker, affordability. So let's talk about affordability. Okay, what does that mean? What kind of policies? I love it when people talk about things that have no meaning. And we know the line of people is endless from AOC and on that Mandami and all those things. At least Mandami actually comes up with, communist ideas to tell people this is what I want to do. Other people just bloviate about things like we need more affordable housing. Okay. Granted, what does that look like to you? And there's no answers. And so it seems like this political thing that we're talking about a lot without answers. What we need is, honestly, it's not a hard answer. It's just simply, let's make it easier for business to do business. Let's have less regulation, not more. Government makes it more difficult, less affordable for everything. If we have businesses that are freer to do things, that are not encumbered by so much red tape, think of California, New York as examples. Micron is a perfect example. Can I just jump on that? Micron in Idaho is rolling. Micron in New York can't start. Why? Red tape. And so how does that help drive down the cost of chips, which is driving up the price of iPhones and everything else for consumers because of the demand, when the government just gets in the way? Now, these are not hard answers, but people want to wave a magic wand or pretend that a group of elitists are going to be able to figure out this is the answer. We try it with affordable housing and ruin housing. We do it over and over again. Instead of creating more supply or allowing business to go and run like the wind, we sit around and try to come up with really idiotic solutions or no solution. Just use it as a political statement.
And yet more and more Americans are hurting.
I guess, Kevin, I'm not sure. I don't know how we define hurting. I think we were hurting in the 1970s and 1980s. It's really difficult to get things started. Inflation was out of control. I'm not sure that when we go to downtown Boise and see the packed restaurants and bars where people can happily pay $10 for a beer instead of $1 at home, it doesn't seem to me like they feel like they're hurting. And I know some are. And I know some are trying to work hard. And I know I sound like I'm just a hard person, and I'm most certainly not. It's just that I sometimes think we say things without actually stopping to say, we have never had more abundance in our country, in the world, than we have at this very moment, hurting or not, or a few that are or not. I mean, it's just an amazing world we live in, full of opportunities and abundance. And the more we talk about how hard it is, I feel like it puts kids behind. Instead of seeing I have unlimited opportunities, they see nothing but roadblocks.
Well, you take a look at the debt. You take a look at our own national debt. You take a look at the budgetary shortfalls. Yes, we've had them before, but you have young people saying they're never going to be able to buy a home. And you could say we've said that before, but they really mean it this time. And again, 15 years ago, you could give homes away. Today, it's a very different world. I know it's cyclical, but, affordability is a national perception. When you take a look at these politics, when you take a look at the cost of goods, take a look at the war, take a look at that Donald Trump had to cut a deal. The president had to cut a deal. Otherwise, he was going to be Herbert Hoover. Those were his words, not mine.
Well, Kevin, I don't disagree that some people are going to have a hard time out there. There's no question. Low-paying jobs. But I see, for example, so many people going through this house, my house, doing a remodel, and absolutely killing it. They have more work than they can possibly take on. It's hard to get people out to do that work. And I see amazing opportunities for people in the trades. And they used to be very low-end, low-paying jobs. And so now I see completely the opposite. This is a tremendous opportunity for somebody that maybe isn't particularly great at science or math or whatever. The world's turning upside down. And those folks, if they want to get out and go get a skill, it doesn't take that long. It's not a 4-year degree. And go get that skill and come out and work hard, you're going to kill it. And I see that as a great opportunity. I think that their opportunities are in different places, perhaps. It isn't the same roadmap, but deficits have, to your point, always been around. There's no difference. Do I see the path being changed and fear of that change being in any young person's mind. I do. I see it in anybody under age 40. What am I going to do? How am I going to get to retirement with this whole AI wrecking jobs? What direction do I go? Kevin, I think that's all real. I do. And I think that that's something we as a society need to spend more time talking about and dealing with the upheaval this is going to cause. Not talking about housing prices. Honestly, they're going to take care of themselves if government gets out of the way. It really will. It always has. But government doesn't want to do that. It wants to get bigger. It wants to get in the way. It wants to come up with, quotes, solutions that do not solve problems. They make government bigger. And that's what I'm saying. If we could just, focus on what is important, and that is the technology changes that are absolutely turning the world upside down. And they are. And the job world upside down. No wonder people are nervous. How does that come out? Affordability. In my mind, that is what's coming out now. Plus, politicians think they have a lever to pull on Donald Trump.
Well, they do. I mean, the war and everything else, I mean, our stockpiles with the oil, lowest since the mid-'80s. People are wondering about the cost of energy. The mullahs one day are controlling things. It's not been a good call. It may have been the right call, but the president has gotten us into a situation that many Republicans are very, very worried about the midterms. And you think it's bad for him now, and he's mad about the reflective pool. Wait until the Democrats get the House.
Yeah, there's no question that the House was always in danger, and I'm not sure if it's in more danger or not, Kevin. To be very frank, I think it was very much in danger, as midterms always are. But the bottom line is, if trends continue and oil prices are down to $70 a barrel, that's pretty impressive drop. It is temporary. As far as our oil stocks go, Kevin, that's a point, but I think it's a pretty minor point when under Donald Trump, we've become the biggest exporter of energy in the world. I think that's a remarkable thing, or the biggest producer of energy in the world. That's remarkable. And when it comes to natural gas, we are the Saudi Arabia. We're the whole Middle East in one. It is an absolutely stunning amount of energy that we have in this country. Us worrying about importing oil, we don't. It's not about us. It's the price of the oil, because the last barrel of oil in the world sets the price of every barrel in the world, and that's true everywhere. So our oil is higher, not because it's being imported from the Gulf. We don't get any there, or we don't have to get any there. We can take it right from our own shores. So in our own country, as far as higher energy prices, it feels that way to everybody, to me, you, everybody. You go fill up. How in the world is it $70? This is ridiculous. It is. And that is right in our face every single day. But what you can't see is, as the largest producer of energy in the world, then you have more jobs being created, more taxes being paid, more revenue from those companies, more dividends into pension funds, et cetera, because we are producing that very energy that we're consuming. If it was going offshore, that's a different ballgame, but it's not. And so we don't see that, we don't feel that, but there really is a net effect of zero. Our businesses are doing better because there's more energy, and there's so many that supply, right? Whether it's pipelines, it's everything else. They're all doing very well, thank you, because we're pumping as much oil as we can. As far as the strategic reserve, they'll fill it back up with excess oil that we have when everything gets back to normal, and I don't know when that will be.
Dave Petzo joining us here, our great friend in Money Matters, Saturdays 8 to 10 on 580 KIDO. So we go to your beloved Wall Street Journal. NASDAQ opens lower as tech sell-off deepens. Oracle sheds 21,000 jobs. SpaceX briefly dips below initial open. Your reaction?
The market is finally acting a little more normal. We're not allowed to go up every day. That just isn't the way it works. We have to have corrections, and we have to digest all these moves. So to me, this is normal. I'm not worried about it, but it can obviously go down for many, many days in a row. But I don't see any fundamental reason, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But what always hurts us is when we get too extended. We just get too far ahead. when an IPO like the size of SpaceX goes too high, then we have to pull some of that back. And we saw that a few years back. Remember with GameStop, which is not even a real company, where the memes, what we call meme stocks, where they drive them up with all their Twitters and whatever it is, that they try to push these stocks to the moon, even if there's no valuations there. But the companies that are out there, the IPO of SpaceX and Cerberus and all these others, these are real companies, and they've been around for a long time, and they have real revenue. This is not the same thing as a GameStop run-up, but you can't run to the moon. So we have to have these pullbacks in here. And what's happening with the Microns of the world and the chips and the AI, everybody's trying to figure this out. But when you make 1,000% move in a year, you need to have some pullbacks. And Micron has them periodically. Literally 3 months ago, it went down 30% and then ripped back another, 50% higher. So to where we are today, it's been a huge upward trend, but not without bumps in the road. And I think that's what we're seeing now. That's what it looks like to me. If I was just to sit back and not be a technician and not be overly analyzing everything, it just feels like, well, this feels like anything in the last few years when we've gotten real hot. We need to cool off for a little while.
Yeah, but people aren't used to that anymore. They're used to the good news. They're used to their team winning all the time and their stocks going up all the time.
They sure have lately, Kevin. You're absolutely right. It's the same, as we talk about Micron, because how can you not? It's right here in our hometown. And it's been this remarkable wealth-building machine right here in the Valley and all over the place because it's so widely held. And it is the apex of what's going on in the AI chip building. And so, once again, they can't build enough chips, no matter how many fabs are built in the world. AI and everything else needs more chips. So everybody's running at it, but right now they're so far behind, the money is a flood. And everybody every day is like, I've got to get in front of that. I don't want to miss out. I want to get this and I want to get that. I get it. It's super true. But watch out for those pullbacks. They happen very frequently, particularly in the most loved stocks.
More coming up with our great friend Dave Petzo. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. From Tea Party Bob, big day for Micron tomorrow. They're supposed to report earnings. What do you think?
Kevin, it's going to be an unbelievable number. There's no question it will be. There's nothing that could have gone wrong this quarter. They have every hurricane wind behind them. This is not a technology that nobody has. It's not a technology that has a big moat around it. It's something that, I don't know if you want to say it. Like in the old days, he would say the gods are behind Micron. Everything. Hurricane winds. This is just an unbelievable storm for them. And anybody, Samsung and Hynix, the same thing, because they make the chip that exploded in need. And in their world, it's hard to put a fab together to make enough of them. And so nobody saw this kind of demand coming, but it happened. And these companies are just, their margins are unbelievable. They're like 80% now. So when we talk about that, what that means is every dollar of sales, you actually drop 80 cents to the bottom line. As expensive as those fabs are and everything else, that's a remarkable number. So once again, everything is going right. It's not like it stopped and chip prices started going down. They've continued to hold their own, and then the newer chips go up. And so there's nothing that really could be except it's going to be an incredible report. Does that mean the stock goes up? This is the key. Last quarter was the most remarkable one until this quarter. And the stock and their outlook was, you guys are so far down. No, we're going to make way more money than that. So it was a perfect outlook. And the stock went down like 30% in 2 days. So I don't know that the reaction is going to be, boy, they made so much money. This is incredible. And the runway looks endless. I think we'll go ahead and drive this stock price up. We don't know how stocks are going to react to earnings numbers. That's the fascinating thing. A company can deliver great earnings, great outlook, like Micron, but when they're this hot, it better be red hot to even hold the same price. because that's what's expected out there. So what I'm saying, the whole world knows. It is not news. This company is going to knock it out of the park tomorrow after the close.
So, Dave, what are the issues that you're focusing in on besides the one you just mentioned?
Obviously, what's going on in AI has just been a huge driver to the market, but we all know that, and those are the headlines every single day, and it is the, quotes, market driver. But when you look beneath the market, Micron went up another $100 today or something like that. Chip stocks roar again. You're also seeing that some correction out there in the big companies, big tech, if you will, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. They're not doing well at all. Their stocks are doing very poorly. So we're kind of seeing this churning process, which I think is very healthy. You can look at it in two ways. You can say this is terrible. Most stocks are down, and that might be true over some period of time. I'll let the people that analyze the numbers make that case. What I'm trying to say is that as a market cycles through, and we've had this incredible bull market for a long, long time, very few corrections, and when we get them,
and Dave, hold on. With all due respect, let me just interrupt, because I always equate it to a good sports team. You get that expectation, and if you listen to your program, the goods and the bads, you're always very honest, and this is just my opinion about tempering expectations. But it's like that team that wins all the time and then they get beaten. It could be quite traumatic as opposed to something that's more up and down. So, and I just wanted to jump in to say that because, people expect to keep winning. We had Subaru Jerry on one time talking about the market. I go, you're not guaranteed gains in the market, but people have come to expect that. I mean, you and I came up in the 70s and 80s. We had this thing called a recession, which I don't want it to happen. And maybe we're having a shadow recession right now. And you and I, and it's been a while since I brought that word up with you, but I mean, we were used to that. As you just said, Dave Pat, so we are living really in historic times.
We're living clearly in historic times. And I think that as you were asking about the overall, what we're looking at in the market, if you will, I just don't see us entering a recession right now. There's so much money, so much product being desired, and so much money being invested in the United States. I'm not sure how we have a recession. Now, when I say that with complete humility that I have no idea what the future is. Therefore, something could cause it. Now, is it going to be a war in the Middle East? Apparently not. Okay? Is it going to be a spike in oil prices? Apparently not. And that to me leads me to feel more positive about the economy because it's taken some shots, to your point, and we have completely bounced back. What I'm seeing in the market, though, is either A, a concern, or B, is normal corrections as the market goes through. It just goes through it so fast we don't seem to notice it. Or the general index is doing well, even as Google, Microsoft, and these others are not. And why are they not? And that's the concern of many people that I think is real. They're starting to spend money, not out of cash flow. They're borrowing it to build. It's been decades since any of these companies have had to do that. And that is a concern. And they're issuing stock, which means they're selling their equity. So they feel that they have to spend so much money on AI, which is unknown. We don't know how that will play out. We can be pretending that we know what AI will be with some precision. And maybe they're right. But knowing how much money you're going to make on AI is totally unknown. Because Google's running after it, does that mean that they're going to get enough for subscriptions to pay for all these literally hundreds of billions of dollars that they're spending? Is that going to be profitable, or is it going to, in the end, as many think, turn into a commodity where everybody is selling a Grok, an Anthropic, OpenAI, whatever it is. Everybody's going to have one, but it's going to be more like cell phones. We just get a little subscription here, and it's not the high-margin business people thought.
Well, and let's face it, if AI gobbles up all the chips, then when we're buying our phones from Apple and everybody else, that's going to go up as well.
Kevin, Apple's announced it, so it's coming, and they may be as much as $200 more per phone. Now, is that unbelievably high for something as unbelievably good that lasts for 5 or 6 years? Of course it's not. I mean, if you amortize that over the years, it costs nothing to have a device to do that. But that's what AI has sucked up, is so much chips. The chip price, the microns of the world have gone up so much that Apple is going to charge more.
Dave Petzo joining us, Money Matters here, 580 KIDO. We have a new article here from the Idaho Business Review, basically regurgitating what Compass says. One recent projection calls for 500,000 new residents in the state in the next 25 years, roughly 25,000 people every year. What do you make of that when we have so many new people coming in? The congestion continues. For those people that have been here a long time, or the natives?
Yeah, Kevin, it's an ongoing battle to any place that's growing. I guess you can have, you and I have talked about this for a long time, and God bless them, Weezer's doing better. So I don't want to put them down, but we've talked about that in the past when they weren't. They're starting to do better now, and they're starting to do better, honestly, because people are getting pushed out of Boise. Right? It's not.
Yep.
It's not really because there's a big attraction. But my point
you
is,
could get property with land and all sorts of things in Weezer, Fruitland, and Payette.
Right. And so a lot of people are heading out that way. They want that lifestyle. And with more people coming here, even if a few of them are moving to Idaho because they want that, it's a great place to go. But my point is that it was in such decline, and where people were exiting, the young people were leaving, and you would drive through town and you felt sorry. It looked like almost a ghost town. It was really terrible. And of course, it brought in crime and drugs and all those things. And things have turned, I know, but that's what you and I were talking about back then, and talking about, yes, but decline looks like that. We, with congestion and angry drivers, that's what people moving somewhere that they want to be looks like. So you're going to put up with one or the other. And I think that I would rather be where things are growing. And God bless the Ada and Canyon County, both actually, with on the roads and everything. It seems to me like they're doing a better job. Now I know, Kevin, it's not good in downtown Boise. I get you. That's not good. But overall,
it's not good in downtown. It's not good in downtown Star. It's not good in downtown Kuna. It's it's not good. Let's go back to your original point about Boise, though. I mean, that's embarrassing. How bad it is.
Yeah,
look, you were worried about the survival. You were worried about the survival of your business because of road closures and stuff.
Yeah, it's well, yes, road closures and the silliness that we're going to have bike lanes down the middle of Maine. Absolutely unbelievable. Not non-thinking, but that's this administration, and we move on. But it's one of those things where we have to, I think, recognize that we're going to have some construction, and I appreciate that the county has done a much better job of planning, in my mind, than the days of let's go ahead and put a bike lane. I demand a bike lane down Main Street. Those kinds of things seem to not be the case anymore. They seem to be much more thoughtful. I appreciate that. We know road construction screws everything up, and but at the same time, it's something we have to do. And I do think they're doing a better job of it, Kevin. And with 25,000, I think is what you said, more people coming in all the time. It's a lot for the state to absorb. But people are still coming, and we know what we have. And I've always said this, Kevin, it's not my Boise anymore, and it hasn't been for decades.
Well, it's really not your Idaho anymore.
For sure. You got to go all the way, you got to go in the middle of nowhere to find what Idaho looks like, and it still looks like that because nobody wants to be there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's,
yeah. Before we let you go, though, I want to ask you. It's not a political question. I'll just have you focus in on the money because we want to keep you out of politics. If you're okay with that.
Thank you. Yes. I get in trouble enough.
I understand that, Dave Petso, at 580 KIDO. You know, the state of Idaho doesn't allow gambling. The state of Idaho doesn't allow marijuana. And we don't know if the marijuana initiative is going to get on the ballot or not. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But could you describe the money, and you've mentioned gambling before, sports gambling in particular, the money that people are promised if they bring that into the state now that the Supreme Court has allowed legalized gambling, but the money being used to lobby to get that into Idaho. Can you just think about how much revenue is at stake? And again, I'm not in favor of it, but what the state is really up against, people that want to keep that stuff out.
Yeah, and I think that because everything's short-sighted. From I need my Micron money right now, right? Everything's short-sighted. People aren't investors anymore; they're trading, and this rolls into the same thing with the gambling and the revenue in politicians' mind. If I can go grab some of that, then I can put a park over here, and I can keep getting elected. Okay, absolutely ridiculous. If it worked, then the best places in the whole wide world, the most crime-free, most amazing things in the whole wide world would be like Las Vegas. And it's not at all. And so they have all their continuing problems that this brings. Again, I don't mean this from any condemnation at all. I've got my own things. And on top of that, I like to gamble. But I also like living in a place that doesn't have it, right? And so I like that because it brings its problems with it. And I see it when I go. I see it as part of it when you see people that shouldn't be, clearly can't afford to do this. It's not entertainment. It's an addiction. And it's a really big problem. And we all know statistically this isn't good. And why we would want to promote that as politicians seems evil to me. It really does. It truly does. I don't know how they do that. Is to where you simply say, we need to have it everywhere. It's a human freedom, and what they're really saying is, I want to be able to take advantage of that, like drug dealers do. It brings drugs, it brings crime, it brings all kinds of problems, and I think and then people don't weigh those costs. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I don't mean that they're like light costs. These are heavy costs. Crime has a real number to it. We have to have more police. We have to have more of this, more jails, all those things. These things are expensive. It's not a moneymaker to have to allow X, Y, or Z vice so that you can tax it. And if you tax it too much, you'll watch it go down anyway, because you can't have these places put up and then tax them to death so they can't get a recovery of their capital. It just is it's a sick thought that what we want to do is we just need money so much that we're going to allow any kind of behavior. Now, there's an honest difference of opinion out there, and I think that's fine, where people ought to be free. I tend to go to the libertarian side of things anyway, and again, I'm staying out of politics here, but I'm just saying libertarian isn't really political. It's just a feeling, you do you and I'll do me. And that's more of a hands-off, but at the same time, as a society, we all have to live together, and that means there needs to be certain rules. And those rules of conduct allow us to live more comfortably and safely together.
Our great friend Dave Petzel, we'll get you out on this one. I did an article on how much it cost for a pretzel in Seattle, the World Cup. You want to guess?
Oh my gosh, a pretzel. I'll go $15.
Close. A hot pretzel will cost you $13.49. A foreign beer, $18.49. American beer, $17.49. And I'm going, where's Dave Petzo at his cup of coffee on this one?
I know. You see, Kevin, that's where we talk about this. Again, I come back to, there are times in our lives where you can't afford to go to a sporting event, where if you do go, you really can't be buying $20 beers. You can't. So don't. And then, or at the very least, don't say, I can't afford it. This affordability problem is unreal. Yeah, I just don't really have a lot of sympathy for people that go out 3 times a week and then say, I can't afford it. It goes on the credit card. And I don't want to be unsympathetic that there are people that are struggling. That's not at all what I'm saying. But we all have to act like, you asked me about the cup of coffee, that I can put money away first, and then you do whatever you want with the rest. But you've got to be able to invest and plan for your future and your family's future. That's really what this has always been all about. And if people don't do that, then don't tell me you can't afford to, because you can't afford a $5,000 vacation. Welcome to the human race. A lot of people can't do that. And it shouldn't be going on your credit cards. If people at a younger age get started on the right foot and stay out of debt, you don't have to worry about it. You'll know when you can afford things and when you can't. And you also are well on the way to managing your long-term finances perfectly well.
All right, Dave Petzo, we could go on and on, but that's Saturdays 8 to 10. We always appreciate your time. Always happy to have you on, sir.
Happy to be with you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Our great friend Dave Petzo. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Expanding. Then we have, the 10-mile project, the district of 10 Mile. It continues to, 220 acres. It's amazing. All this development. And you wonder, will people be around to pay for it? Well, according to the Idaho Business Review, Mark Lutz writing this, much to the chagrin of those who want a small-time feel in Idaho's Treasure Valley, the state's population continues to tick upward. Last 2 years ago, we passed 2 million. A recent projection calls for over 500,000 new residents in the next 25 years. That means 25,000 people every year. With the increase comes a demand for housing and more accommodating infrastructure, which, again, I don't know if we could ever figure this out, how to make growth pay for itself. And I know you get tired of people saying that, but it is frustrating when you have Boise, Meridian, Ada County, probably others, raising taxes. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes. And then you have the state of Idaho saying, well, we gave you a tax rebate, did you? Not really. Now the state has a deficit, allegedly. Let's see. I love this because at the height of the market, I think what it was at 700,000, 750 maybe, almost 800,000 was the median price of homes in Ada County, and maybe, what was it, 600 in Canyon County. Now, everything is cyclical, and I know you're thinking to yourself, well, Kevin Miller, no, it isn't. This is just how it is. What was it, 16 years ago, maybe 15 years ago? I love this figure. It was from the Idaho Statesman article, but the median home price in Canyon County was $70,000 at the depths of the Great Recession. Today, it's $430,000. Ada County, the median home price, and I'm not joking, was $140,000. Today, it's just at $545,000. Pretty wild when you think about it. Pretty wild indeed when you're looking at how homes have gone up and continue to go up. And in this article in the Business Review, they're talking about, home prices and that you have to go out further and further. Look, when you go out further and further, Ontario has, $400,000 homes. They're talking to this realtor here to, quote, get something for $300,000 in the Boise area is not happening. Even an older townhome I've listed at $380,000, and that's 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. That's a single-family homes, but they're more like 1,000 or 1,100 square feet and older. Yeah, you do see a lot of that. And I guess if you're a minimalist, because that's what people are into now, you're going to do that. But $300,000, you can't buy a home in Boise for $300,000, and we have the mayor jumping in the river? Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe we should start electing entertainers. Carnival barkers, circus clowns, dark lords of the Sith. Call them what you want. Donald Trump was elected because he wanted to bring a business-like approach to the White House. Do you know a leader that's doing a good job on this? We see pay raises for city officials. We see people holding events, but did you really move to Idaho to be a part of city and civic events? And if so, is that really the appropriate role of city government? Or is the role of city government to cut taxes, give you the return on investment, make a difference? I don't know that if I lived in Boise, Idaho, and I don't, I couldn't afford to live in Boise, I'd find this insulting. I'm sure this applies to Meridian as well. Again, back to this quote, to get something for $300,000 in Boise is not happening. An older townhome is $380,000 with no yard, no anything. And yet we have the mayor opening up a potato shack. I'm sure it's a nice place. That guy seems like a good dude. He wants to be associated with Mayor McLean. Good for him. I'm sure he'll do very well. And who doesn't like a potato? Because we all pander to potatoes. PotatoPandering.com, PotatoPandering.com. Ha, 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 until you have to pay for potatoes. There should be some pride in the city council people. They don't listen to this show. Why would they? Oh, it's all toxic right-wing masculinity. No, it's people that pay taxes. When I was at the Walmart in Boise over the weekend, I was amazed at how many people came up and loved the show. I wish I could figure out a way to liberate you. I wish I could figure out a way to, and we're not even talking about from an ideological point of view, although there's a lot of material there, but from a fiscally conservative, sound, principled point of view, that we're looking at these homes. You know, it's so funny because the government that's tied in with developers, and I don't blame the developers. Look, they got to make a living. They've got to drive the big trucks. They've got to have the six-figure salaries. They've got to have the money. Oh, we're going to build government housing. We're going to do this, that, and the other. So, yeah, so something that would cost $200 really cost $400. And if you're on the doles, maybe you get a break. Everybody else, more taxes, more spending. Again, back to this article. Basically, let's see, a less than 1,300 square foot home with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a one-car garage on a quarter-acre lot in Mountain Home. The home was built in 1976, sold for $300,000. A similar home built in Emmett in '79 on nearly a half acre, sold for $349,000. You want to get that in Boise, you're going to get 1,000 square feet on much smaller lots and fixer-uppers. You know, you look at the cost of things, and this is why we're always talking about money. It's inflation that's killing us. This new report, I believe, from Compass. Again, we pay Compass to tell us what we need to continue to fund them so we can get funding from the government. And we've talked about this before. Since 2020, the population of Ada and Canyon counties combined has increased by 150,000. The population 4-county area has increased by more than 20% since 2020. The city of Star saw the largest percentage increase in population since 2020 at 131,000%. If you go through Star, it's 1 lane in, 1 lane out. Star Road on certain days reminds me of 10 Mile, unfortunately. And the building continues. But the cost of housing doesn't decrease. And I understand, having been on the Air Quality Board, working with a lot of people that were in Star City government, the key is to try to lessen the burden on residentials, because I believe in Star and other cities, and this is, I think, the problem with Canyon County, why their taxes are higher. There's not enough industry. So in Star, 90% of the revenue comes from homes as opposed to businesses, because there aren't any. And yet you build the businesses, and then you have what? Caldwell, CUNA, Meridian all had the largest year-over-year increases in population. Caldwell gained by 5,000. CUNA almost 5,000, and Meridian, almost 5,000. And people say we need to plan for more housing. Is that making it better? Well, if not, the inflation is going to continue. And yet we have a mayor who soaks her feet in the river. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Like I said before, the growth continues. The affordability continues. I love this. Different options for house hunters. Well, we've got almost 10,000 new permits, 9,327 for residential developments across 2 counties, with the completion of Highway 16 coming in early 2027. Connecting I-84 north to Highway 26, the open areas around the corridor will likely be the hottest areas of development, except if you live there. And then we take a look at our own infrastructure. How long before we have to take a look at 84? And what's that going to be? Well, we're going to have to raise taxes on that one. You wonder. Let's take a look at actually focusing in on what we're getting for our money. What we're really getting on our money. And is it possible to have an audit? When will the pain actually allow us to do that? Some things to think about as we ponder. By the way, again, why are people moving to Idaho? It's kind of like this guy.
With the comments of your endorsed candidate, Arielisa Avila Chevalier, on opposing deportations regardless of criminal record?
I've been clear that I'm proud of our sanctuary city status. It is a status that we have had in this city for decades. It's also a status that, when there is the conviction of more than 170 serious crimes, does allow for coordination with the federal government on that. However, beyond that, that is something that we have made clear we are not going to allow this city to become the civil immigration enforcement arm of a federal government.
So Mandami wants to abolish ICE. That's right. Mandami wants to abolish ICE. Now, Tom Homan has a response to that. We'll take a look at this, but, like we said, how are you paying for all this stuff? And the city of Boise, how are they? I mean, Lynn Bradescu calling in last week, talking about, doing the freedom of press request to get information on this and to find out just how much money is actually being wasted. And as long as we're posting on Instagram or Facebook, everything is wonderful. Now, the Democrats do have a way of doing this, and they're talking about taxing the rich people. Now, that would be great, but what happens when you tax the rich people? The rich people are smart. They figure a way out.
But think about this, Jennifer. For 5% tax one time on Elon Musk, you could have universal child care in America, $10 a day for every family. That's one person, one time, 5%, and he wouldn't even miss it because the market would grow by 15% and his wealth would still grow. And yet they're opposed to something as basic as that.
By the way, he is the most, I think, active trader, Ro Khanna, and has continued to do very well for himself. Is he getting taxed? Let's get you to work safely and on time. 580 KIDO traffic. And good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio. Still dealing with that accident right after the Franklin overpass on the left-hand side. Watch for that. And we have a vehicle fire on Saturn Way right off Victory. Fence and Lumber, your Cedar Factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Fence and Lumber, now open in Kuna, online at fenceandlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave Burnett. Another hour down. If you miss any portion of the program, all you have to do is go to YouTube or Spotify or Shopify. Well, not Shopify, but Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it. You will see the Kevin Miller program. And maybe you listen in Laconia, New Hampshire, or Miami, Florida, or San Antonio, Texas, or Seattle. We appreciate you, and we're very thankful that you do check us out. We urge you to go to us live, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and check us out live. But we love the downloads. We love the podcast. The great thing about the podcast is that there are no Little League commercials. It is, for better or worse, all content. That's a lot of pressure, crazy man. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. To get better, check them out today. I highly, highly recommend them. Peak Health Idaho will be back with them on Thursday, and we'll give you an update on my continued efforts to save my life and to get healthier. And we would love for you to be a part of that. peakhealthidaho.com. Check them out today. Big day today and throughout the nation. More primaries. Hard to believe that the primary season continues. We'll have complete reaction to those coming up when we're taking a look at some of the more left-leaning primary states, if you will, and what it all means. And what has gone underreported is the challenge for the Democratic Party, because you have a lot of people that it's very similar, akin, like the exact opposite of the Republicans, where you have many diehard conservatives that believe a certain specific way, and that's the way it's going to roll. And then you have the liberal loons that want to, I suppose, with the lack of a better description, just tear everything down. We're going to have sanctuary cities. We're going to have state-run grocery stores. It's Stalin and Lenin's dream, and really, it's the founding fathers' nightmare as we get ready for the 250th anniversary of our great nation. And there's a lot of people that are skeptics. A lot of people that are, they think about it is when they were asked, do you think America will be around for another 250 years? Most people said no. Now, you want to talk about optimistic, pessimistic? Boy, don't tell that to the founding fathers. Don't tell that to Jeff Manasso either, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, buddy. Morning.
We are always great to have you with us here. It's fascinating that there's a major trial going on, or at least the beginnings of a major trial eventually. And that is the trial of Tyler Robinson, accused of killing Charlie Kirk, sir.
So a judge in Utah County, Utah, ruling against Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin ahead of a preliminary hearing in that murder case. So part of the evidence, Kevin, that's expected to be laid out in court in the preliminary hearing that's set for July 6th, to begin July 6th, to establish probable cause to send it to trial. It's going to include hearsay evidence, including pre-recorded testimony from Tyler Robinson's roommate and former lover, Lance Twiggs, in which Judge Tony Graff ruled against the defense. He's going to allow the evidence in which Mr. Twiggs allegedly made statements to investigators that Robinson confessed to the crimes, that he concealed the weapon, that he disposed of clothing, and directed Twiggs to not have contact with law enforcement. Pretty damning evidence, as well as a medical examiner, federal DNA, and a ballistics report that the judge is going to allow. The judge denied the defense motion to compel Twiggs to testify in person at that preliminary hearing, for which no electronic devices will be allowed in court. That's been one of the contentious issues. The defense doesn't want cameras. They don't want anything in court to where anything can get out to the public ether, and they say taint a prospective potential jury pool. So we'll see what happens with that. But for now, the judge has said that he is going to allow cameras as court proceedings continue. The judge is expected to rule on several other motions in the death penalty case this week. Looks like Friday, including whether or not the prosecutor, Christopher Ballard, violated a gag order by talking to reporters a couple months back, and whether the death penalty should be taken off the table as a sanction. That's what the defense wants. They say, okay, he violated the gag order. We want him, we want him held in the prosecution held in contempt, and we want you to take the death penalty off the table because they violated the gag order. Ballard testified that his remarks were just about circumstances that can lead to an inconclusive test results, not about specific evidence. And he also said that he included comments in which comments in each of the interviews indicated that Robinson is presumed innocent. So, this is one of those things where the prosecution needs to get it right, Kevin. The judge needs to get it right because there's a lot of attention on this case. But at the same time, if you're Tyler Robinson, you want your defense team throwing anything at the wall and hoping something sticks. And that's what they're doing.
Our great friend Jeff Manasso, Fox News Radio on 580 KIDO. I go back to this trial, and Jeff, it's a ways off, right?
We don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is a ways off. So the preliminary hearing, it's going to take days to get through the mountain of evidence against Tyler Robinson. It's an overwhelming amount of evidence against him. And so we'll see how and that obviously is going to determine probable cause. It's my guess that the judge will say, yes, there is enough evidence. We are going to, this thing is moving to trial. He'll set a date. But at some point, we'll also hear Tyler Robinson making a plea in the case. He hasn't done that. Perhaps it's really the only thing that the defense has that can move the case one way or another. Perhaps they're saving it to try and keep the death penalty off the table. Maybe he makes a plea. Who knows? But for now, he hasn't made a plea, and there's no trial date set.
It's tough for us to be objective because we're in the middle of this, but historically you take a look at the significance of the assassination of Charlie Kirk and its ramifications.
Well, look, it was a very public display and horrific, whether you like the guy or not, or whether you like his politics or not. It was a tough day, I think, for most Americans to have to be subjected to that. You've got a guy who, according to his lover, admitted to the crime. According to his dad, admitted to the crime. According to his grandpa, whose gun was stolen, was the same gun. According to prosecutors, we'll hear more about the ballistics and testing and in full detail coming up here in a few weeks. But the evidence seems to be pretty overwhelming. And who would do something like that? And so there's a lot of there's a lot of emotion involved in this. As you know, I tracked the story. I was out in Arizona for the memorial. We talked in detail about that, and there's a lot of interest, and a lot of people are calling for justice. And Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, has asked for this to move along, and she doesn't want it to be dragged out because it's painful for her and the family. And so we'll see what happens with the preliminary hearing, but I'm guessing that the judge is going to move it along to trial. As far as the other announcements that the judge has yet to make, the other rulings, I should say, the judge seems to indicate. And look, I don't know where he's going to go, but it seems based on his rulings that he probably thinks the defense is reaching on many of their motions. Which, again, if you're Tyler Robinson, you want them to. So they're doing their job.
Yeah. Our great friend Jeff Manasso. Anything else that we missed?
That is it, my friend. I'm going to be out tomorrow through the 6th. So you have an awesome 4th of July. Listeners, have an awesome 4th of July. Be safe. Cook some good food. Smell some fresh air. Campfires, all that kind of stuff.
My man, Jeff Manasso, take care of yourself, sir.
You too.
Our great friend, Jeff Manasso. We will hear from you next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Thorpe, who joins us now at 580 KIDO. Hello, Kent.
Hey, hi, Kevin. Sorry I didn't call in a little earlier, but I couldn't find my special Kleenex box marked for Kevin Miller's use. I wanted you to know how much I appreciated the complete honesty that Dave Petzo showed today by mentioning the vast improvements, at least as far as what I've seen, as to how the decision-making processes have gone here at the county level for roads. He's been fairly critical over the years, but obviously took some time to consider a few other things. And thank you, Dave. You're one of my favorite people anyway.
Well, that's wonderful. You've called in to praise Dave Petzo. You can always do that on Saturday when he's on.
Well, okay. Probably will. I listen to him.
Is there anything else that we can do, Kent? This is what I love about Kent. You never know what you're going to get with him.
Well, I was going to invite you and any listeners that might want to tune into a very interesting, to me anyway, ACHD meeting tomorrow night, where there is only one participant on the agenda, and that's Micron. They've come to help us understand why we ought to do several things with the roads up there, and signals and things that will benefit Micron, and make some changes to our master street map that Micron thinks is important for them. And, without getting opinionated or anything on the subject, I'm spending all day just about today studying the packet so that I'll at least understand what's on the table. But it's something that we've been expecting for several years, and it ought to be very interesting because it's very expensive.
What they want?
I'm sure it is. New roads, new designations, new signals. That's expensive. And I'll be interested as much as anything else in finding out who's supposed to pay for it.
Didn't they have the fastest growing stock in America?
I know. Boy, I wish I could tap into some of that for roads.
If you bought it 2 years ago, you could pave roads in gold.
It's interesting. I've bought and sold Micron stock for a long time, and I used to be in a business somewhat like Dave Petzo's. And one of my earliest training sessions back in the 70s, the people training us on stock said one really profound thing that you've probably heard before: pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. So you have to know when to hold them, when to fold them with regards to stocks. And I would never have guessed in a million years that Micron stock would be doing what it is today. So I actually sold my Micron stock some time ago at a tremendous profit, but nothing like I could have if I'd held out.
Well, again, that's amazing when you think about just how successful it is. Kent, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I must share my absolute dismay that the Republican Party decided to turn its back on, at least on a platform basis, on the nation of Israel. That's just a crime in my mind.
Well, we see that all the time. Everybody's turning on Israel.
They are. I never will. And, you say never, but, I read the scriptures and I understand what very important people have said about the region and what it means to us on many levels. And I know there are people that can make bad decisions in government. Trust me, I know that. But Israel is a very special place, and that will never change in my mind, and we cannot withdraw our support. If we do, there'll be real problems down the road very quickly.
Kent, we appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See ya.
Let's go to Cindy in Eagle, who, unlike Kent, is always on message at 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, I'll try to not ramble, but, there's so many things that I could ramble about. But this morning, I mentioned it once before. I'm calling again. We're hoping that people of Eagle will call into the Eagle City Council or the Eagle Mayor to at least become aware of the fact that they want to build 30-plus homes on the Eagle Hill Golf Course parking lot. And they're really, you were talking earlier about affordability. These homes are going to be $1 million or $1.2 million. And they're, so, many of us are going to look at them. We're not going to be able to afford to buy them. Most people in this area are quite upset about it. The traffic issue, which you've been discussing all morning, is going to be impossible because the road they're going to create on this parking lot, there's no parking on it. There's going to be a terrible parking shortage. And I don't know if you've been to Eagle lately, but the traffic, it's getting more and more difficult to make left-hand turns. I'm finding that sometimes I'm turning right in order to go.
Oh, no. I'm in Eagle at least 3 times a week, sometimes more.
Oh, so okay.
I live out with the people. I'm out with the people, so I'm much more frequent Nampa, Caldwell, Meridian, Eagle, Star than I do Boise.
So you've been there, done that, and they're just stuffing houses everywhere.
Yeah.
This one in particular is very upsetting because I back up to the Eagle Hills Golf Course. I've lived here since '97, and there's a lake out there, and they're literally going to drain the lake and move it. I've never heard of such a thing. So, I guess the lake will be closer to my backyard. I would have lake back property, but I like the lake right where it is. I don't want to move it. Anyway, as I said, I mentioned it before, but I'm hoping that people are aware that this is what's planned and that they will make their opinions heard at the City of Eagle or the Eagle Mayor. And because we're all very, very, very concerned. This whole thing is going to take a couple of years to do. And we already have construction so bad we can hardly get in and out of here. It took months to, I don't know what they were doing, but they did something big, and it blocked off our streets. So I had delivery people sometimes say, I couldn't get to your house. And I said, I understand. I didn't get that. So anyway, I had one other gripe that I was going to gripe about this morning. And I was very upset with Channel 2 the other day. They were doing interviews about Trump, and they wanted to, quote, present both sides. So what they did is they interviewed a Democrat, and then they interviewed a Republican who was against Trump. And I sat there and I thought, am I actually seeing this happen? I mean, how blatantly prejudiced can you be? And it's not, normally Channel 2 is more fair than, I feel, more balanced than some of the others. And then on CBS, they were saying that the Ebola outbreak is Trump's fault because he decreased the money that he sent to, and they named a country, and that was a blatant exaggeration of what happened. He decreased the money that he sent to the World Health Organization, and then now they're saying that that's his fault, that the Ebola is becoming quite a problem there. I understand that that's a terrible thing, but it's not Trump's fault. So, if somebody loses a game, it's Trump's fault. If they get Ebola, it's Trump's fault. I thought they would back off a little bit, but it didn't happen. The media is just as bad as they used to be. Those are my 2 big gripes this morning. Other than that, it's a gorgeous day, and I'm very happy to be in Boise, in Idaho, in Eagle.
Well, Cindy, thank you very much. Take care of yourself.
Hey, thanks. You too. Okay, bye-bye.
Let's roll to Dylan from the Great Idaho Show, thegreatidahoshow.com. Good morning.
Kevin, good morning. Love to talk about Boise this morning. You know, Idaho is great. We love it. People love it, but you know what changes a state from its greatness is sadly politics. Idaho has two grave risks right now, and that's the growing cancer of good old boy, good old girl politics in Idaho. But Boise, which you've been talking about today, you know, a little bit of criticism for Lauren for being a social media person. You know, I don't know how I feel about that, but, you know, there's social cultural issues with LGBTQ. There's housing and development issues where Boise is essentially subsidizing and just going straight to the high rise, like we're turning into Portland. We've got a tax and spend system, you know, just tax it and spend it. That is the way. But, you know, she's got some issues. She's got staff turnover. She's got some alleged vindictive firings. She's playing some internal games with a lack of transparency. And you got to give it to Lynn Bradescu. Of all the people, you've heard a lot of people talking about Boise. Lynn is getting out there, getting involved. And where's the conservative activity? Where is the people that are concerned about this, boots on the ground? I feel like she's out there in the ocean just trying to fight for getting people to call, doing Freedom of Information Act requests. And is she alone? Like, people need to, regardless of who it is, recognize who's getting out there. And, man, let's get this girl a lifeline. She's out there taking action.
Well, I think, Lynn Bradescu, I think she does a good job. And, you know, there are others, but she can't do it alone.
No, and it's like look, nobody's perfect, okay? And I'm not saying Lynn Bradescu is good or bad, indifferent. I barely know her. I've engaged with her. She seems tremendously
and yet you're telling people to work for her or work with her, and you don't even know.
No,
her.
I'm just saying if she's out there doing Freedom of Information Act requests,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm not doing enough. I'm standing down there at the city council's decision to approve the flag, and that they're 6:00 in the morning with my protest, calling Kevin Miller at the morning out there all day long, while the people of love and happiness are looking at me with hate daggers like I'm some kind of killer.
Kook.
You know,
like you're
I'm a kook. You know, I got to say that was an interesting day. I'm sitting there, and this fellow drives by, and he looks at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to get out of the car and shoot me. He goes and pulls over and comes straight over to me, and it's a K Millie militia man, like there to support me. There was about 3 other people that day, but you know, you got to get active.
And you were on television. You were a big star for the day. You talked to Sally from Channel 2.
I was a member of those individuals that were painting me as a hatist instead of a person that is making a simple point. It has nothing to do with LGBTQ. It has everything to do with basic civics.
Right, but back to the Boise mayor. And I covered her campaign. The Boise mayor actually forced Dave Beater to come into my show. Dave Beater was so enamored, didn't even know I'd been around, although I'd been on for 10 years at the time. And Dave Beater was so comfortable. And look, he's a happy guy. He's a nice guy. He loves the city. But he became so enamored, he did not see, as Lynn Bradescu said last week, he didn't see the knife coming, and she popped him, and he didn't know what hit him. And then the runoff, he didn't know. And the fact that he wanted to do the library, he wanted to do the downtown stadium. You know, people talk about the soccer friendly. The stadium wasn't filled for that. All these things, there was a lot of fatigue with him, and he didn't listen to the people. She came in, fresh face, and said she would be a listening mayor. Well, I don't see her listening. I see her talking a lot. I see her in the Boise River going, ooh, the water is cold. Or talking about buying things from the refugees. Maybe she's buying things from the Idaho farmers too. Okay. Her priorities, to me, seem to be, and then we've got her now a new one where she's riding a bike. And I'm going, hey, man, with all due respect, balance the budget, cut taxes, and do the job you were elected for to do. Look, if you want to pay someone however much money you're paying the mayor of Boise or any of these people, I don't want them to be touchy-feely. I want them to be administering the budget as if it's their own because we pay for them. And until the people of Boise can intellectually liberate themselves from this oppression, this malaise, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, she's working towards being celebrity mayor. She's working towards being known nationally like the new Pete Buttigieg of worthlessness, but that's on taxpayer dollars, that platform that she's building. You're right. It is the best attack to just simply be like, look, show me the business, not your business. And I don't know. My call was to say I appreciate you, Lynn. I don't know you. I hope that you are on the way of the good and in the way of the Lord. But raising awareness is people getting out there, and hopefully the other organized conservatives of Idaho can recognize that one of the biggest risks to our great state is this transition of the Treasure Valley.
Well, that's why you have a Republican Party.
Sorry, I have to refrain from commenting there, Kevin, because other than they've been completely absent in Boise, and I don't know, maybe Lynn will show them how it's done.
Well, I think she made a statement and they didn't listen to her over the weekend. Dylan, thank you for the call. 580-KIDO, you're home for Fox News. Fox News Now, 580-KIDO. More of your calls about the issues that matter to you. By the way, we were just kind of hanging out, having a good time, talking about local politics. We're still looking for, and maybe we'll do a blog post on this, people that are doing, a good job. And we would love to promote those people that are locally, those trailblazers, if you wish. By the way, a new book coming out. Let's get intellectual, if you will, by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. These people are excellent reporters. They are not our friends. But they will talk more about this. It's going to be very damaging to the White House. I don't know really why they continue to somehow these people like Bob Woodward get access to these things, but they do. And all they do is make the administration look bad. And some of these comments were in the Situation Room, if you will, which I don't really understand how they would get access to those comments. Let's take a listen from The Daily Show.
Why is that so challenging? It seems very basic, and yet even it's very difficult to execute it. So why is that?
Well, it used to be somewhat easier, although I will say that Jonathan did the single best television interview with Trump that has existed. They have structured this White House, the press corps, so that it is primarily people or half people who they consider to be friendly to them. They control the media pool that is in there now. They control the seats. Routinely, the only person really challenging him aggressively and not rudely or unprofessionally is Caitlin Collins.
And kills him.
She takes an enormous.
No question. Yeah.
Again, this is a world, a journey into lefty loon world, where they're talking about Caitlin Collins. Again, Caitlin Collins proves you don't have to be old to be successful. Was an intern with the Daily Caller. CNN liked her. They groomed her. And now she's Sam Donaldson.
She takes an enormous amount of shit, and
we'll delete that, and there we go. Let's go to Tea Party Bob, who joins us now on 580-KIDO. For people on the stream, we apologize for Maggie Hagerman swearing. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, bad Maggie. You certainly seem to have your problems down in the Treasure Valley between the mayor painting yellow curbs, broken windshield from chip sealing, and traffic jams everywhere.
Oh,
don't have any
here
of
it
those
comes,
problems
folks.
up here in New Meadows.
Here it comes. By the way, gloating Tea Party Bob. Of course, in the winter, we'll see if he has the same thing. But please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
We get plowed out pretty regularly, so I don't worry about that. It's called hunkering down. People forgot how to do that years ago. I wanted to talk a little bit about the SAVE Act today because it's really something that is a conundrum to everybody. There's been a lot of commentary. So I did a deep dive to see what's what. And as it turns out, much of the problems in the details of the bill. The Gallup poll found 84% of U.S. adults favor requiring photo identification to vote, and 83% favor requiring proof of citizenship when registering to vote for the first time. And even the Harvard-Harris poll, which is quite a bit less conservative, found 71% support for this act, including 69% of the independents and about half of the rank-and-file Democrats. So the problem's simple, yet somewhat complex, as it requires anyone registering to vote in federal elections to have documentary proof of citizenship with a passport, birth certificate, or naturalization certificate, because state-issued driver license and real IDs don't work because no state's real ID actually indicates citizenship status. So, effectively, if the SAVE Act passes, it eliminates online voter registration and makes mail-in registration practically impossible. If the act is passed, it would mean 69 million American women, and we hear this all the time on the news, who took their spouse's name after marriage would have a mismatch between their birth certificates and current legal names and would not allow them to register unless they produce both of these certificates. So the even larger problem is for election workers, because if they register someone without correct documents, they face a 5-year prison sentence, even if that person is fully eligible. The National Voter Registration Act of 93 makes it possible for non-citizens to register simply by attesting citizenship with no verification. So the big question is, how widespread is voting by illegals? If we look at one of the most conservative research sources, which I consider to be the Heritage Foundation, you'll find that their election fraud database and the most comprehensive conservative tracking effort in existence contains only 99 documented cases of non-citizen voting since 1982 across the entire United States. Just keep in mind that this database is neither exhaustive or comprehensive, but it does demonstrate there are vulnerabilities in the election system rather than detecting all of the fraud. Now, at the state level, audits by Republican secretaries of state tell a very consistent story. Like Idaho found 36 very likely registered non-citizens out of over 1 million registered voters. Louisiana found 390 registrants. Georgia found 20 out of 8.2 million. And Montana found 23 out of 785,000. The evidence is non-citizens illegally voting in federal elections is extremely low. But the resistance on both sides continues to block the passage. So, while the left, libertarians, and conservatives all have valid reasons for not passing this bill, it appears that it is not whether to verify citizenship, but whether the SAVE Act is the most effective and least disruptive way to do it. Since every honest audit conducted by officials of both parties has found the problem to be extraordinarily small. Truth be known, most often the voting that is illegal by illegals is because of driver's licenses being accepted for registration because states do not purge these lists. So that's my answer to the
Well, you've talked about nationally. What's your take on Idaho?
I don't think we have an enormous amount of illegal voting here. Heck, nobody wants to know where the illegals are here, including all of our constitutional officers. So why would you think you would see them at the polls?
With the exception of one.
Yes, exactly. I find the fact that my wife was on the polls, was on the voter registration 4 years after she died, is one of the more important things that we take a look at. Because I guarantee you, there are more dead people on the rolls than you can shake a stick at, more than illegals in this state. That's laziness. That's because people don't do their jobs. How are you doing down there, buddy?
Ooh. Well, you've given us a lot to stir on. You go back to, I don't know, I just can't get the image of the Boise mayor in her dress in the water out of my mind. I think someone is really steering her the wrong way. But, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, what are these people? What is her staff thinking?
And think about it. We used to worry about Beater putting a trolley downtown. Mm-hmm. This is something twice as bad as anything Beater ever did.
Yeah, I would say.
Well,
TPB,
it shows you how the place is changing, Kevin.
Well, some of us don't desert our ship. Some of us go down with the ship.
Yeah, I know that. But I will tell you, what really, really irks me is that even in the last election, 30% of the registered voters came out to vote. That tells you about the apathy that we have here in this state. It's not
you go back
good.
go back to the Chris Troupas quote, and I think a lot of people, you have people that are very engaged, and then you have people that don't. And you know, with respect to your opinion and my opinion, we differ on this. There's a great schism within Republican Party politics. You could probably even say there are two or three, or, you know, I think you and I one time counted there are like 5 different Republican parties.
Yeah, at one time there was.
Yeah. I know you'll be working for Senator Guthrie's reelection again.
Yeah, I want to see more illegals with driver's licenses on the road, especially the guys that are driving those big trucks and can't read the signs. That's what I want to see more of.
Yeah, now they can go 80 miles per hour. So thank you, State of Idaho, for that. Thank you, legislature.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of dumb people around nowadays. I hate to tell you. And many of them are in our legislature.
And that'll be the last word. You can read Tea Party Bob at gemstatepatriot.com. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO.
Call you a genocide enabler and tell you that you're not welcome.
Yeah, it was quite surprising, in part because I had such a nice interaction with the barista in the coffee shop. She was wearing a hijab. I didn't know her, but she couldn't have been nicer and allowed my daughter to go use the bathroom. And I honestly was so grateful for her kindness that I felt like I should buy a coffee. And so I did, and I gave her a large tip. And it was diametrically opposite to that post that I came upon later. And it's a real sad, it's a reflection, I think, of a sad state of affairs that without knowing me, we could have had such a nice interaction. 2 people, obviously from different backgrounds, different faiths, but that's what America is. And that's what New York City is. That is what I believe in. I am a strong proponent of equal rights, of civil rights, of human rights. And what is going on in the Middle East is horrific. And the idea of accusing someone who you don't know of, you know, supporting a genocide, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I may disagree as to whether or not there's a genocide, but come on, we're better than this. And we need to be better than this. And we have to stop dividing ourselves so much and try to find the common ground and unify, especially within the Democratic Party.
So here you have Congressman Dan Goldman, who very progressive, very anti-administration, goes in to buy a cup of coffee, or actually going in to use the bathroom, his daughter. And like a lot of us, and by the way, it's against the law for people to discriminate against anyone on race, blah, 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 to deny them the use of the bathroom. So I wonder how that would play if they say bathroom for customers only. I digress. Bathrooms are important as you get older, maybe as you're younger. A good, clean bathroom, right? So his daughter goes and uses the bathroom. He comes out, talking to the lady in her hijab, and they have a nice conversation. He decides to buy a cup of coffee, and then later he gets blasted on social media for supporting genocide. And then we have people, led by the Bernie Sanders and others, wing of the party, that say the Israeli lobby is controlling America. People on the left and the right say we shouldn't be supporting Israel. They don't really mention October 7th, though. They don't mention a trip to the Holocaust Museum. They don't mention any of that. They just kind of do their own thing and, float their anti-Israel vibe. Some would say anti-Semitic. And many of them on the left, like these liberal loons that turned on Goldman, they all turn. And now he's getting a taste of what it's like to be a Democrat who supports Israel but doesn't support Netanyahu. He goes, no, I'm with them. It doesn't matter. Earlier in the program, if you're listening this long, thank you. But we were talking to Al in Ontario, and Al was talking about how he was, a Thomas Jefferson guy. And I'm a Hamiltonian. And no, I've always been a Hamiltonian even before they had the Broadway show, before they were going to replace him with Harriet Tubman. I loved Alexander Hamilton because he was always about order. And unlike some of the founders, he and Jefferson, they were bitter rivals. But what was it? The third presidential run, Hamilton was the guy that supported Jefferson because he knew Aaron Burr was bad for the country. And remember, Burr killed him in New Jersey, where they had a duel. Hamilton, being the good Hamilton, fired his pistol in the air, the honorable thing. Burr shot him. And then Burr was on the run and really was one of the biggest villains in American history. But Hamilton understood the threat that we face today, and that is the mob rule. Now, Alexander Hamilton could not understand social media at the time. Now we can't understand it. But that's the world we live in, is the mob rule. And perhaps we live in Idaho and we're very blessed, but there are people, and I see them. I like to compare them to the Sith in Star Wars. You never know where they are. They travel in pairs. In fact, perhaps the Dark Lord of the Sith, the one we've been looking for. I don't know. But they're sneaky. And here we have Mr. Goldman trying to buy a cup of coffee. We've militarized commerce, which is so blatantly wrong.
Who is inflicting so much damage on every New Yorker's lives on a day-to-day basis is not 6,000 miles away. He's in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that is who the enemy is that we all need to unify to.
Yeah, buddy. Doesn't matter if you don't like Donald Trump. You're done. Sorry, bub. You're out. No coffee for you. In fact, they refunded his coffee. How much does it cost for a cup of coffee at this Poetica coffee shop in New York? Almost $10, $9.82. They said, see ya, buddy. We don't need your money, and you're not welcome back, bub.
To stop.
What do you say to those who look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., and look at what's happening in the Middle East, who say that they have a vested interest in both, and equate the policies of Netanyahu with you?
Well, that's exactly the fundamental problem, because, and first of all, I've been very openly opposed to this Israeli government. But just like Donald Trump is not synonymous with the United States, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government is not synonymous with the country and state of Israel. And it is a democracy. They will have elections this fall. Hopefully they will make the right choice. And the Israeli people, by all accounts right now, are gearing up to do that because they also, the majority of whom oppose this Israeli government. And that's what a democracy is. I have so many issues with Donald Trump. I have many issues with Prime Minister Netanyahu. But simply because I support the existence of Israel as a Jewish state, as the only Jewish state, does not by any means mean that I support everything that government does. And in fact, I do not. And I've been very open about that. And I think it's really dangerous when people start conflating the actions of the Israeli government with American Jews who have absolutely nothing to do with what is going on in Israel. And the rise in anti-Semitism because of what is happening in the Middle East here in the United States is really dangerous, and it is escalating significantly.
He's right about that. And then they ask him, do you take money from the Jewish lobby? And he says, no. All right, here we go. Hit me.
Good morning. I can barely speak. Barely, but I'll speak for you, young man. By golly, what is wrong with you saying nasty things about the mayor standing in the river? I got an Instagram of that photo. I thought she looked just beautiful. I mean, good God, you're never going to get the smell out of that river, but she looked beautiful.
All right, thank you for the call, and please dump that comment. We don't really personally attack people. Thank you very much, Andy Kaufman. Thank you very much for that. We don't really want to do that, and we apologize for people on the stream. We may politically disagree with people. We may have fun with them, but we don't personally attack them. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, whether they're liberals or conservatives. Idaho is a family, faith-based community. Whether you believe in God or not, whether you love America or not, but we're always very civil. So, and you're going to go, well, Kevin Miller, you let him rip conservatives all the time. You're right about that, and I apologize, but we're not going to do that. We want to have a place where people can have a civil discourse, if you will. I still love this. Poor Dan Goldman. Did you take money from ALIPAC, APAC, or whatever? And you think to yourself, well, what does that have to do with being denied service? And like I said, we are entering a dangerous time where anything goes. We're going to see what happens with who's elected in New York with their primary, who's elected in D.C. with their primary, where people just continue to go on and on about ripping America. Before long, as Congressman Goldman just found out, they're coming for you because their goal isn't to right a wrong. It's just to destroy the greatness of America. Good day. God bless. I so appreciate you listening. Keep the faith, and Kevin Miller loves you.
Tonight, you're planning on watching the ultimate soccer showdown. During the match, you'll probably drink vodka, which will lead to texting your ex and maybe dancing on the bar. You should be a little worried, but you aren't because you're not going to do any of those things. Tonight, you're going to drink differently with RK, the world's first zero-proof spirit that tastes like the real thing. All the flavor, all the burn, none of the bad decisions. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com. Like the boys on the pitch, RK is redefining what alcohol-free can taste like. RK has been distilling alcohol-free spirits since 2011, and they deliver that familiar burn without the alcohol or the hangover. Drink differently and get some RK for the match at rkbeverages.com.